Welcome back to Haterade Live, the Haterade Hour podcast. I am your host, Jordan, aka Haterade Cowboy, and we have a very special podcast for you today. But before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to our channel partner, Mint Mobile. And as always, let's have fun. Let's be kind to one another. Let's keep it G-rated. All right, so if you clicked on this live stream, you saw the thumbnail, which means I'm not by myself. I brought the Everything is Bigger in Texas Home Theater Tours Dallas Edition panel. So I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. Rusty Mitch, you want to get us started?
Yeah, I'm Rusty Mitch. Jordan came to visit, and I'm the owner of the JTR system. So had a great time and enjoyed hanging out that weekend.
John.
Hi, my name is John, and I was the Rockstar Cinema, and I'm here in Flower Mound, Texas, and I was part of the Haterade DFW tour.
Vern?
Yeah, this is Vern Diaz. I also enjoyed the visit and the ability to show off the theater. Mine is the 276-1 Cinerama Immersion Theater.
And Rusty, R2D2.
Yeah, my name is Rusty Buris. I had the theater that was the budget friendly, efficient theater here in Cattle Mills, Texas, and really excited to be here and to talk home theater with you guys.
All right, guys. Looks like we got one person in the chat. Let me see here. Mike Stram says, "Happy Friday, gentlemen." Happy Friday, Mike. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, I wanted to basically get everybody together because, you know, when you're filming home theater tours, you can't cover everything. Otherwise, the video will be like 5 hours long. And sometimes, especially when you're doing stuff filming by yourself, you forget things. So I know people have questions when they're watching the videos. So I figured, hey, why not have these guys on and you can talk to them yourself. Any questions that you want to ask them, you can talk to them directly instead of asking me, which I can't answer all the questions because it's not my theater. And then we also have some topics that we're going to discuss here as well. So we got another one. Daryl Heflin says Daryl's here. Thank you, Daryl, for tuning in.
Is that the
I think
Daryl
that's
we
the
know,
Daryl
or is that
that-
another Daryl?
I'm pretty sure that's the Daryl we know, and Dave.
Oh, okay.
He came and hung out with us on Friday night.
Oh, gotcha. Nice
When
guy.
you were
Sorry,
here.
I still don't. It was the first time meeting some of those people, so the names and the faces don't gel together correctly. But thank you guys for tuning in. Ike is here. What's going on, Ike? We missed you at the Dallas Home Theater Tours, man. John Harding.
John, he came to our get together also on Friday night. Good to see you, John.
Awesome. Michael Slocum says, "I loved all the theaters." Thank you. Yeah, it was very fun. And again, I'm gonna apologize for R2D2 Rusty. Like, I still don't know what happened on the second half of that video. I feel really bad because, you know, that wasn't supposed to happen. But at least we got the most important, like the video where we show everything.
Yeah, don't feel bad. I was still pleased with the outcome, with what we got for sure.
Cool. So yeah, let's briefly talk about maybe some of the stuff in Rusty Mitch's theater. So we got Rusty's theater. He had the JTR system. So I know we forgot to talk about your screen, Rusty. Why don't you, I guess, tell the people what kind of screen you have and how you got that set up, because I didn't get to show that in the video.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't forgot to film it. Man, it was a crazy weekend with all the different.
It was.
We were moving and going, and I mean, we didn't stop for a second, so we didn't cover quite everything. But the screen I'm using is a screen so I went to MWave 2022 in Kansas, and SEYMOUR Screens had a demo. They brought a couple of demo screens, and they're the the Proscenium auto masking as 150-inch diagonal, 150-inch diagonal, 16:9 format. I love the auto masking because, man, once you mask those black bars in 235, it is a dramatic difference. And I knew when I saw it, I just had to have it. And of course, at the show, they don't want to bring anything home that they don't have to, because it's just, it's an open box. They can't sell it as new anymore. They want it, and it's a pain to transit. So I talked to Evan at SEYMOUR and Chris, and they worked out a deal for me and said, here, you can take it home with you today. So I bought that on the spot and then had to figure out a way to get it home. Ended up using a U-Haul box truck to do that. And then it has a XD material, which is the woven, acoustically transparent. It's brighter than the UF material, which is smoother. And once I put it up, I put samples up on the wall, compared it side by side, and I love the XD material. I'm actually sorting through some pictures here. I'm going to try to show it on the screen. You may have to come back to me on this, but then
Okay.
I can show you a few pictures of my setup. Because I feel like, well, I don't know if this is novel, but it was novel to me in how I mounted it to the screen. I hadn't seen anybody else do it, so I'm going to count
Yeah, that was very
that
interesting.
as
You can kind of see in
count it.
the video, or at least in the screenshot, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't think we talked about that either. While you're looking up those pictures, John, I know we didn't talk about your JVC projector very much, so why don't you tell everybody about that and anything else you wanted to add about your theater?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, a lot of your guests know of the NZ8, which is one of the medium-tiered JVC projectors, also known as the 3100. It's native 4K, E-shift up to 8K, great contrast, great black levels. I mean, that's what the JVC is known for, of course. It's perfect for this size of a room. I don't have it all the way at the back of my 25-foot room. It's actually at about 17 foot. So the lack of brightness that I could have got with the 4100 or the NZ9 is not really that apparent, or it doesn't hurt the fact that I chose the NZ8 because it is closer into the room. I actually have it in a drop-down lift that I think we might have talked about on the
Yeah, and I got some video of it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it can lower into the room and be clean and hidden when not needed. But I love it. I love the projector, and it is absolutely enhanced, obviously with the with madVR Envy. So that makes it, just helps with that HDR, and it pops. And I couldn't ask for a better projector. It was the best that my budget was going to allow. I'm not ready for a Christie or a Barco. And in this room, I mean, if someone handed me a Christie Eclipse, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, but then I might need like a whole nother room for the cooling of that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
You need to upgrade your electrical. Like it's a whole turnkey system.
No, right. So for this size of room, I couldn't ask for a better projector than the NZ8. It's great.
Awesome.
And I know some other people on here have that as well. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember when I was standing in there, I was looking, I was like, okay, I see a screen, like I see everything, and I'm like, I don't see his projector, and I don't see like, a hush box, and I was like, it's got to be in the ceiling, but I'm like, I don't know where it could be. And then when you hit the button, it came down, I'm like, oh man, that's cool, because it's seamless, man. Like if you don't know where it's at, like you just like, where's his projector?
right. So the lift itself, it's pure white. And when they installed it, I'm like, that's white and everything else is black. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I talked about hiring a painter to paint it black. And he's like, I'm not touching that because it's already in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And he's like,
That's
I'm
hot.
not, like spray paint it. And it's just, even if you cover things with plastics, like he couldn't guarantee that everything was going to be okay. Spray painting and stuff. So I'm like, what can I do? I'm like, wait a second, just get some sticky I want to say velvet, but it's not velvet, like felt, looks like velvet. I mean, I don't know the official name for it, but it's that sticky, velvety, felty material. I just slap that up there. It's almost like contact paper, and just slap that up there and cut it into a square, and it's perfect. And it blends into the ceiling quite well, especially with the can light shining down. It is absolutely invisible. And most people, when they come into the theater, they don't even think about it. They see my screen, they see my speakers, and I start talking about it, and then I'll activate it. Usually, I'll voice activate to turn on the projector, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what is that coming out?" Well, yeah, that's the projector. So it's kind of a nice little crescendo. Like, all right, here we go. It's starting. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and something really cool happened too with the madVR. Why don't you tell us about that?
In fact, Jordan, it was delivered today.
Oh, nice.
So because of your podcast I was on the other day, at the bottom of my staircase, I have some, I don't know what you want to call them, vanity plates. They show all the gear in the room. A lot of people have them, and most people get them off of Etsy. So whether you have a THX room, or you have your Dolby Cinema, or you have your pretty much anything, you have your Klipsch speakers, or whatever you have, they'll make branded, you can get on Etsy branded nameplates of all the makes, so they know what gear your theater has. And I was missing one thing right in the middle, smack dab in the middle. I was missing my madVR for my video processing. And so one of the sales, and I didn't get his name. He's one of the head sales reps. Joey?
Joey Peacock.
Joey Peacock. That's right. How could you forget the name? So he saw that I was missing that, and I had made reference to it. So he sent me my missing piece, the only thing that I need for that little collage of my room. So thank you, sir, Mr. Peacock, so much for doing that for me. And that will be going up shortly, and I appreciate that so much. And if I hadn't been on your podcast, that never would have happened. So one more little, special thing that happened because you invited me on your show. So thanks again, Jordan.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Joey reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he saw the video, and he was like, "Hey, man, can you put me in contact with the gentleman that has that theater? We want to send him a plaque." And I was like, "Oh man, that's super cool." So yeah, appreciate that, Joey. All right,
Very nice.
Vern. So if you guys don't know Vern has been a active member on the AV forums. I believe he said since around 1990, 89. Is that correct?
1999.
1999. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So that's
didn't we
long
establish
time.
that? Did we establish that he's like user number like 17 or something?
Oh, really? Is he?
No,
I mean,
I'm kidding. I don't really know.
It's not 17, but it's a pretty low number.
That's wild. So yeah,
You get a plaque?
No.
You should.
Man, it's too bad.
That is too bad. But yeah, so Vern has a very interesting theater. We're going to come back to, we got some images that we're going to show too. We'll come back to the rest of these images. But one thing that we didn't talk about in your video that I missed was and you mentioned it, but we didn't elaborate on it, is your theater seats or your couch. So you've got some butt kickers in those, right?
Yes, I do. I have butt kickers that they're probably 15 years old now, which is about the age of the couches as well. So they were installed way back when, in like 2 home theaters ago. And, they're basically powered by a separate amp. So they're just basically fed in parallel with the subwoofer feeds.
Cool, yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. But yeah, so Vern, I got to talk to Vern for quite a while on Friday when I was at Rusty's house, and he was going through the demos. And Vern has just a ton of knowledge, and it's very interesting to talk to him. He's got so much knowledge, and I mean, anything that I brought up about audio or video, he had so many things to say that I didn't even know about. So go check out that his theater tour. It's very, very interesting. He's got that Cinerama screen that's, you know, I've never seen anybody else have in their theater, and it's pretty immersive. All right, and then we got R2D2, Rusty.
Yes, sir.
So Rusty had the Klipsch system. He's got the DIY subs, and I know there was a lot of stuff that we missed in your theater. I know we didn't really get to talk about. I put up some images, but we didn't get to really talk about what's in your rack too much, in your closet that's behind you. What you got in there?
Correct. I think I mentioned everything in the video,
Okay.
just not in too much detail, but it's easier for me to start from I'll start from the top down this time. But yeah, got the JVC and X7, and then I've got a Xbox Series X, Apple TV 4K, and then a Behringer NX6000D running the subs, Marantz SR7012, which is 11 channels of processing, 9 channels of amplification. And then moving down from that, there's some networking gear in there, some Ubiquiti stuff, running some cameras for the house. And under that's my HTPC, which is, I mean, the main thing you need to know is that for the madVR, it's running, it's got a RTX 3080 in it. And then I got an i9 12900K and then 32 gigs of RAM. And then some stuff in there to, back up all my Blu-rays too, and my 4K Blu-rays.
i9, man, that's pretty powerful.
They had a really good deal going on at Micro Center, so I got an i9 with the 32 gigs of RAM and a Asus Prime motherboard. It was $399, $400.
What?
Yeah.
When was this?
A couple months ago.
Wow, that is. I don't think I've ever heard.
Yeah,
of
when
a
I
deal
saw
like
it, I
that.
was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that because I was looking at getting like an i5 or an i7.
Wow, man, that's really cool. So, again, man, you guys, you can, Rusty, we highlighted that a lot. He had a lot of stuff that he bought, secondhand that was used. He actually bought his projector from our other Rusty. So, you can find deals, and the good thing with home theater gear is a lot of that stuff, as long as the person's took care of it, you can use that stuff and reuse it for a long time.
Well, I got lucky with buying it from Rusty because I knew him, and he
Right.
didn't have a whole lot of usage on that projector, hardly any. So it was dang near brand new.
That's awesome. All right, yeah. So, Rusty, did you get those images up?
Yeah, I think so. I don't
Okay.
know if this is going to be super smooth. I don't know how you guys do this, like where you're trying to like read comments and speak and search your computer for files all at the same time.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can screen share and this window. I'm sure I've
By the way,
shared
guys,
right.
don't forget to hit the like button on this video so the algorithm can push it out. And everybody here has a home theater tour. If you haven't watched that yet, if you're new, you can check those out. I have a playlist called Everything is Bigger in Texas, Home Theater Tours. And by the way, like the day after I posted, or a couple days after I posted the last theater, John Brock's theater, somebody reached out to me. I think they're about 30, 45 minutes away. And they were like, hey, I'm building a pretty big home theater with Klipsch. They're like, you want to come out here and tour it when I finish? I'm like, sure. He sent me some, I think he's on AVS forum. He sent me a link. So appreciate you guys, man. Cause that, somebody saw it and was like, hey, so that's what my goal is. I want to try to put Texas on the map a little bit more. At least, locally right now. Let's see. We got some comments. Can't stay, but wanted to say hi.
Sorry, man. Can you see my share or no?
Oh yeah, I see it right there. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to do this now, or do you want to go back to that?
Yeah, sure. Let me just read this comment real quick. Jonah
Okay.
Hall says, can't stay, but wanted to say hi. Y'all rock. Looking forward to some more meetups and stuff. Appreciate you, John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jonah. He came and hung out with us too that night.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he went to we met at M Wave 23.
Awesome. All right, yeah, so let's Easy Home Theater Texas, congratulations on 7K. Yeah, so literally right before we started the stream, I hit 7,000 subscribers, so thank you.
Awesome, man.
So Yeah, my goal is to hit. I'd like to try to hit 10K in the first quarter. So we'll see if it happens. But yeah, getting closer. So appreciate everybody here on the stream, everybody that's watching, everybody who's watching this in the future. Thank you guys so much, because it's been a grind at times, but it's definitely been fun. All right, Rusty, what you got for us in this in your images? So this is your screen.
Yeah, this is my screen. So let me show you a quick, hopefully this will come across okay. So this was one of the intermediate theaters. This was the before. We talked about it a little bit, but it was just a 77-inch and some Revels and some JTRs, and
yeah, it's
not
just
the most
77-inch. Like most people don't have a 77-inch, right? They would be like that. They're done. That's their end game, a 77-inch. And when you see a 77 in that room and you know what's in there now, it's just so funny.
Yeah, especially when you see it and this was kind of like I got the screen in the room, but nothing. All my gear's on the floor. This is the ugly that nobody wants to show you. This is the.
That's the one.
My mouse moving.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. This is that one theater chair I got at M-Wave. Actually, it was. I'm trying to remember. I think his name was Paul, but I hope I didn't get that wrong. He actually won it in a drawing, and so I bought a subwoofer and then traded him the chair for a subwoofer.
That's funny. I
brought
did not know
that home with me too.
So this is right after M-Wave, then.
This is fairly soon after, yeah.
Okay.
So I had my old, what do you call those? Like lazy boy recliners and all my stuff on the floor. And so I kind of got the screen in the room trying to figure it out, because before, I love the OLED, and it's hard to give up that image quality, but it's like the immersiveness. I gotta have that immersiveness. And you can see like my beautiful wire rack.
Man, you didn't have nothing in there.
Yeah, it was great. A gray room. That was about it. This is the behind the scenes.
This is interesting to see, because all I know is what I saw, when I went down there.
So then with the screen mounted here, and what I thought was, I think it's a novel idea, and I thought it was kind of neat. I wanted to be able to put the speakers behind it because it is acoustic transparent, and I wanted that wall-to-wall feel, as close as I could get to wall-to-wall screen feel. And I didn't really want to suspend it from the ceiling, and I thought about doing something that folded up, and just didn't love any of those ideas. And I thought, well, wonder if I can wall mount it like I would wall mount a TV and have it just suspended. So design this up, and it's just for anybody that's bothered by the asymmetry. You can blame whoever built the house, because they the studs aren't in the right place. And I wanted it to be well anchored, but I don't like looking
inches off center.
They're just not where they needed to be, and so it's asymmetric, and I don't like that. But you know what? You just deal with what you got sometimes. I primed it and did a little bit of drywall, and you can see some spots here. I did later add in some. Let me see if I can find it. Some posts to kind of keep it to stabilize the screen, because it wanted to swing a little bit.
Oh, okay. So those are your Revel speakers that you have.
Yeah, so I had all Revel in there at first. Let's see if I got something more current down here. Where it actually shows. Here we go. Oops.
Yep.
Open it in the wrong. How about that? Okay. You can see that I added these posts so it would keep the screen from swaying. One of the comments I got from the home theater gathering, because I asked people, what do you think I could improve on? And the comment I got more than any was, well, your screen shakes. I'm like, well, I don't think
my
it's
house
the screen.
is shaking.
It's the wall.
Yeah.
So the whole,
it's flexing.
Yes, it's so it's an immersive experience. It's just another depth. It's 5D. I guess 40 to 50. I don't know what we're up to.
My screen shakes too, or I think it's my projector, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
my screen definitely shakes if it's on a certain couple movies. If the bass is deep enough, it'll shake the screen.
Yeah, and look, when we're doing demos, we're turning it up to 11.
Right.
That's not
We don't listen to it like
everyday
that.
movie watching.
Hey, can you go back to your, or after you finish that, can you go back to your chairs with the Crosons too?
Oh yeah,
Once you find the picture.
yeah. See some behind the scenes at M-Wave. That was okay. Here, this was what I was trying to show too. I just put up some patterns on my wall when I was just projecting an image onto a bare wall, this is a gray wall, and with texture, and that looks surprisingly good. But you can see that this is the SEYMOUR XD material on the right.
That texture just goes away.
And this is the SEYMOUR NF material on the left. And once I put them side by side, I just love that bright white pop right there, like in the eyes. The NF material is a lot smoother, but from my viewing distance, it wasn't a problem. I can't see the weave from 11 feet. So that's why I went with that.
Nice.
So I think I showed the screen mount, and I thought I had a picture of with it masked down, but I'm sure I do, and I just scroll past it. I'm not very good at this multitasking thing. You'd asked something about the Crosons.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to get my camera, obviously, and we weren't going to move the subs, so I wasn't able to get my camera in there to see the Crosons, but that'd be
so
cool
this is what it looks like underneath. These are the 4 Dayton Audio sealed subs, and then I have 4 Crosons. I'm putting one in the middle. I don't know if I'm going to leave it like that forever, but it was this is where I'm starting. Now you need something to push off on the underside, and I was having a lot of trouble with these chairs they don't lock together at all. And so I took them, because there's one arm on one of them, there's 2 arms. All the other chairs, there's just only one arm on the side. So they kind of lock together, but it's not very secure. So I did something that was supposed to be a 1-day project and became like a 4-day project, and tied all the chairs. I took all the original feet off and used the original mounting holes in the steel, because they are steel frame chairs. And then I made some boards and bolted them together to where they're tied together at the frame, and that way they don't move. They don't try to fall apart from each other.
That is smart.
So I have 6 isolators across the front. Let me see if I can zoom in on. I guess I can't read easily.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, the Crosons, it moves the chair, right? It's not just vibrating it.
Correct. It's an actuator. It is actually lifting up the chair. So across the front, there's these isolators that are like a soft rubber that allow it to move. And then on the back, it's literally just sitting on top. Like these thin, they're pretty thin pads, about 3/4 of an inch thick or so, I'm guessing. And it just sits on top. But it creates a really unique experience, especially in that very low frequency range at 30 hertz and under, maybe 40 hertz and under. It depends. I mean, it all depends on how you tune it.
Yeah. And I don't know about everybody else. I know John, you were there. Vern, you were there. I could not, when we were listening, going through demos, I forgot that you had them. And once I remembered, I was like, it was seamless. Like I couldn't tell, the actuators are on right now. Like I was kind of, my brain was kind of confused as to how much intensity. It was a good blend, basically. I don't know about you guys, John and Vern.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
At some point you turned off the subs, and then you just turned on the near field, and then you just did the actuators, and you did different things just so we would know what that would feel, isolated in that one thing. And I know I enjoyed the near fields. Well, I wouldn't say the most, because I mean the main subs are amazing. But yeah, just it blended well together, and they all you couldn't distinguish really one thing from the other, and that's what you want, right? You don't want to say, oh, that's the actuator kicking in.
Right.
It all went together well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think,
Yeah.
Vern? Vern, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought that the total integration of the bass was excellent. You know, like I said, it's seamless. You really cannot distinguish which component in the bass chain is actually creating what you're feeling.
Right.
And that's my objective, and it's a lot of experimentation. There's not like a formulaic answer to it, unfortunately. So it's a lot of trial and error. And then even since then, I kept hearing comments from people about how Dirac neuters the bass, and especially under 20 hertz. And that's where you feel a lot with the Crosons, is in that sub 20 hertz, because most of the time subs aren't playing that. So I started playing with while I was watching movies. See, when we watch movies, I'm still tinkering with things. Well, a good part of the time while I'm watching the movie. So I started playing with toggling, where it still has the Dirac. It has all of the levels and trims, but I can toggle the bass control on and off to where it's not doing the filters. And I'm not sure if it's all filters or just the bass filters. I'm not certain. I think it turns all the filters off. And it is a remarkable difference in how much more tactile you get when you turn the Dirac off. So I got to start over and figure this all out again.
Yeah, I almost ran Dirac while I was off on vacation the last week of December, and I didn't do it. I still need to do it because I still want to experience what it's like with and without. But I'm just enjoying, and I need to do some more manual calibration. But I'm just enjoying my system right now, just as it is. But I do want to play around with Dirac and see, you know, how it sounds, what it does.
I did want to mention about those Crosons, just for anyone who doesn't know. So you played it with just your JTR subs up front, then you played it with the near field, and then you played it with all three together. And just for people who don't know, so it was those JTRs are amazing. So it sounded great right from the get-go. But yeah, you were missing some of that low end thump in your seat. Once you kicked on the near field, it was there. And then I think you did it with Crosons without the near field, and it also was really good. But then once you blended everything together, it was a entire package. Like you got the feel and the sound, everything just blended in perfectly. And I feel like the near field helped fill in the higher notes, whereas the Crosons were able to get to that single digit range.
Yeah, because the Crosons, they go down to like 1 hertz or something. At least I've heard.
It's something. It's something close to. I think it was 5, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna swear to it. It's low. So that was a fun experiment to do, because we did do all different combinations of, you know, different combinations of front, rear, near field, and Crosons, and different combinations. And there were several people I know in the chat that were able to do that demonstration. I'm curious to see if anybody else has any other thoughts that were here that night. Let us know in the chat what you thought about it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Vern's. I'm going to add this one to the stage. So we've got, let me go back to slide number 1. So this is some of the, I don't think I showed these, and we talked about it briefly. So this is Vern's current room, but it's very different than what it looks like right now. So Vern, why don't you tell us a little bit about this setup right here?
Yeah, this was basically phase 1 of the theater, if you will, with actually phase 2, because phase 1 actually had all the equipment in a wire rack in that corner. The wire rack came out, the shelves came out, the projector got moved into a closet in back of a porthole. The speaker configuration stayed pretty much the same. And then basically the walls got painted in a Sherwin-Williams, not quite a black, but a fairly dark color. And the front of the room also started out with no blackout material at all in the front. It was just a screen there. So basically extended the blackout material 6 feet into the room, covered the entire front wall with it, covered the ceiling 6 feet out from the screen. And, you know, for those who may wonder why I don't have a perforated screen, the room is only 13 feet deep. So with that kind of throw distance, you pretty much, if you want a decent sized screen, you can't afford to sacrifice any distance to moving that screen out a couple feet so you can have speakers in back of it. The other factor there is it is a non-acoustic transparent screen. It's made out of actually blackout cloth that would be used in back of draperies to kill the light infiltration into a room. So you can also see the curve of the screen in that previous picture that you were showing. It was basically built out of 1x3 poplar and 1x2 poplar and fastened to the front wall. And then 1x2 pieces of various lengths are what impart the curve to the screen. And the screen was calculated, actually it was empirically designed. My advice to anybody who's doing a home theater, always install the projector first. Don't do the screen and then try and make the projector fit the screen, because that can cause a lot of heartache and some wasted money as well. So what I did is I projected a test pattern with the anamorphic lens in place. And for those who aren't familiar, anamorphic lenses do contribute pincushion. And so, and again, this was before the RS3100. The top projector was an RS35. The bottom one was an RS57, which was actually a 2K with 4K E-shift, although it would accept the 4K signal. So when I did that, I actually took a tape measure, measured at the center of the room, and measured the height of the image. And then working out towards the edges, I just stood there with the tape measure and moved forward until I had the same height. And that's what actually determined the depth of curve of the screen. It's meant to perfectly match the pincushion that's actually created by the anamorphic lens.
That's well beyond my my knowledge, but it's cool to hear you talk about that and how you're able to achieve that. Because I think a lot of people had a lot of questions on how you did that. We'll get to that slide here too in a minute. So
Okay.
Tell us about these cylindrical
Anamorphic
lenses, because I think it's probably not a lot of people that have seen these.
No, these two lenses actually were prototypes. They were built for TI when TI was developing the first cinema DLP projectors for commercial theaters. And they were built by ISCO in Germany. They're a little unique in that instead of the 1.33 or 1.25 horizontal expansion, they carry a 1.5 horizontal expansion factor. And the story behind this goes back again 15 years or so. I was searching Google for anamorphic lenses, and the site popped up, and it's actually a surplus store in the DFW area. And TI had basically surplused all of their initial pre-production DLP equipment, including these lenses. So I picked them up from the surplus place for like pennies on a dollar, and I've had them ever since. And I've used them on a Sony Qualia 004. I've used them on all three of the JVCs that I've had, the 35, the 57, now the RS 3100. So while the price of an anamorphic may give some people heartburn, the thing to remember is it's a reusable, recyclable product. So it doesn't matter what projector you have, as long as the room doesn't change too much, you've got the ability to continue using that lens no matter what. Now, one other distinction, there are some prism-based anamorphics that do a vertical squeeze. Don't confuse those for these horizontal expansion anamorphics, because these have an astigmatism adjustment ring, sometimes called focus, on the front of them. So they can handle a throw from like 12 feet all the way back to probably 50 or 60 feet, possibly even more. And so they'll work in any room. You don't have to be restricted like you do with some of the prismatic anamorphics where you can only use them at 13 or 14 feet. So it's just a different approach. It's the approach that was used in movie theaters starting back in the 50s. Vertical compression anamorphics only existed in one application back then, and that was for drive-in theaters where you had maybe 150, 200-foot throw, and you wanted to do the vertical compression. However, there were no lenses created for that. They just took a standard horizontal expansion lens, reversed it with a special mount to the projector prime lens, and turned it 90 degrees. So basically, they turned a horizontal expansion lens into a vertical compression lens.
Wow, that's pretty cool. A lot of history. Yeah, when I walked into your theater and I saw your lens, I was like, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. So let's go to the. So I know some people had asked how you made that screen curve like that. Let me go back to the. So there's a curve.
Yeah, go back to the one from the bottom shot there that has the. Okay. So this basically shows the framing. 1x3s are screwed to the wall flat. And then, as I was saying earlier, by putting up a test pattern and measuring the height of the screen with a tape measure, you can determine how much curve you want on the screen to perfectly counteract that pin cushion that's caused by only by a horizontal expansion lens. A vertical compression prismatic lens actually creates bowing effects, which means the center is taller than the sides of the image. So this doesn't work for anything but a cylindrical anamorphic. So that's roughly about 14 inches from the wall when you get to the edge of the screen. So there's a fairly decent depth of curve on this screen.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Okay. Hey, Jordan, can I say one thing about his
Yeah,
screen?
go ahead, man.
So it's when you're sitting on that front row, I forget, you're about 8 feet from the screen? Is that
roughly
is that
8
right?
feet? Yeah, roughly 8.
Yeah. And he played a demo of a roller coaster ride where you're in the roller coaster.
That was cool.
And when you first start moving, like, you kind of get that sick feeling in your stomach because it takes up your whole peripheral vision. You get that kind of weird, like, oh wow, like you feel it in it. So it's pretty unique.
Yeah, I really like that he showed that roller coaster because it gives you, like, when you see a roller coaster on like a normal, in a movie or something like that, you don't get the same immersion like you do. Like it was almost like I was sitting on that roller coaster, and man, it was just really immersive. So that was really cool to see.
It's almost like VR, just better quality video.
Right. Exactly. And it's crazy that they had that they could do that, way back when.
Yeah, the other part of that demonstration part is that film was originally shot and released to theaters in 1952.
That's crazy.
That was from This Is Cinerama, which was the first Cinerama full-length feature. So it was kind of a combination of indoctrination into the history of film in the first widescreen process and the immersion created by being that close to the screen.
Yeah, that was awesome. Rusty says, "Hey Ike, when are you going to join us for a DFW get together?" All right, we got some couple more pictures. We'll come back to you because I think we're going to talk about them. But we got some topics that we were going to talk about here. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a couple guys in here in their theaters are using HT web remote. So I know I hadn't heard about that before. And Rusty, R2D2 in his theater, and Vern are using that. Rusty, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're using that with your setup? R2D2.
R2D2? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm using it to control my Marantz, my JVC. Right now, that's all I've got. That's all I'm controlling with it. Plan on adding more stuff later, but that's really all I need to control at the moment, because KODI's got a companion app that you can download from the App Store. So that's how I can control KODI. And within that app, I can search my library and everything. So it's a little more, has some more features than HT Web Remote. But certainly for the projector, obviously, since it's in that closet behind me, the remote doesn't work. So when I'm in here trying to calibrate and everything, it's HT Web Remote's a must-have. Unless, well, I guess you could do like an IR repeater or something like that, blaster, but it's just seamless. It's say there's a slight learning curve when you first download the program, but once you figure it out, it's easy to use. Then you can customize it and make the remote however you like.
So did you just decide to do that, or to use HT Web Remote? Did you try anything else first? Did you try like using a universal remote, or like what was your deciding factor where you're like, okay, I'm gonna use this and stick with this?
Basically, once I got the projector installed, I knew I was going to have to do some calibrations, which requires a lot of back and forth on the JVC menus. And everything I looked up, that just, and then also talking with, Rusty and also seeing Vern use it, that made the most sense to me than trying to figure out a universal remote and IR blasters and all that. It was just much easier to do IP control through HT Web Remote, and much more user friendly because I can get access to that through any PC, phone, whatever.
Okay, so it's got a web GUI on it then.
Correct.
Okay. Vern, you're using
Yes.
HT Web Remote. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I did, when you mentioned web blasters, it kind of brought back a flashback, because originally I had web blasters and repeaters and all kinds of stuff scattered all over the place, and that was certainly not an ideal solution. So I stumbled across HT Web Remote on AVS Forum, and I'm using it probably more widely in terms of equipment controls. I use it for my projector, definitely. I have HTPCs that I use for my source, the majority of it. So I use it to completely control the HTPCs, including power on, power off, menu selection, pretty much completely. I don't pick up the keyboard unless I got to do something Windows-based, where like install an update or something like that. I also use it to control Philips Hue lighting, my Denon receiver, the 4500 receiver, and of course, pretty much complete with a projector. And when you're using it with multiple PCs, it's kind of an interesting thing, because while the web server that basically hosts the main program is sitting on a PC upstairs, which is also my media server, you can install a copy of Web Remote on any other PC and basically seamlessly communicate through that one GUI interface and web browser and control any number of PCs with it. And you can also combine it with scripts and things like that that will let you do multiple things. Like, for example, if I select 2D for a source on my Denon, it'll also power on the appropriate PC. It'll send the commands to the projector to select the proper mode settings, because that's obviously, although it's 3840 by 2160, it's not UHD, so that requires a different projector setup. It also tells the Denon which input to select. So basically a single button push can create the effect of a macro, where you can just say turn on the system, or in my case, turn on the system selected for a specific source, and it'll do all of that stuff for you without having to worry about it. And it allows you to put in delays, so you can say, well, okay, I've turned on the projector, but I know it's going to be 30 seconds before it's going to accept the command. So I put a delay in there to turn it on, and then 30 seconds later, send the appropriate commands to it. It's just extremely flexible.
Awesome. And Rusty, Mitch, why did you just decide to use HD Web Remote? Because I think I saw a Harmony remote in your theater. Am I correct?
Yeah. So I have a Harmony remote, and it's one of those kind of love-hate things.
Yeah.
It's overall it's been the best option for a long time. But actually using the remote, the screen's super laggy and it's old, and I've replaced the rechargeable battery in it once. It just, I don't know, the physical buttons are fine, but the screen was terrible. I still kind of use it. I'm still in transition. I'm using, as of today, so I was using HD Web Remote primarily for controlling the projector, because I don't have to have a separate I don't need a separate remote. I use an iPad for controlling KALEIDESCAPE. I use the iPad mini. It's also, so I use the KALEIDESCAPE app for that. I use it also for the Monolith HTTP1. It's got a really nice web interface, the custom web interface. And so I was using HD Web Remote primarily for the JVC, because I hate bouncing IR signals around the room. It's, it's not reliable. Whereas you have a hardwire connection, it just works every time. As of today, Nick Sir Master, the programmer for the software, I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but I say big thanks for adding the HTTP1 support on his most recent release. So I added that. So now I can turn on, it had some support, but it didn't do everything. So now I can do combinations and turn everything on and everything off at once in one button click.
It's awesome.
But what's really cool to me is you run the server. It's one exe. You just run it on a Windows computer or a Raspberry Pi. It's very low overhead. And then anybody with a web browser you have a remote. So we all carry a phone around in our pocket, and I have a dedicated iPad mini that I use in the theater. But if I'm getting ready to go watch a movie and I'm in the office, I just flip up my cell phone, I pull up the web page. The web page is the remote. I press the on button, and then by the time I actually make it to the theater, everything's warmed up and ready to go. And then anybody else that wants to control it can do the same thing. And it's the exact same thing from any device, and I don't know. I guess I've used so much touchscreen. I've become so used to touchscreen everything that, I appreciate a good physical button, but I hate fumbling for, I had a picture earlier of like all my remotes. I'm up to like 14 remotes, and I hate fumbling around for those.
That's not fun.
I think Vern was trying to show the interface.
Oh
there.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Vern's gone. He's gone all in. He's really in the system.
Yeah, this is this is just a tablet, which I tend to use in the theater. I've actually got a couple tablets, So, you know, like you said, you can pick up anything, your phone. If I want to turn on something when I'm upstairs in my edit suite where I have my other PCs, just bring it up on the web browser. So, and then across the top, I don't know if you can see this, but there's basically there are different platforms. So you just click that, and you know it'll bring up the customized buttons for the device that you're looking at. And you can see that I've got JRiver there, but I've got JRiver both for UHD and 3D. Same holds true for the other Zoom player, and I use MPV, but only for still slideshows. So, you know, it's a good way to have everything you need in a single place. And nowadays, there isn't hardly anything that doesn't talk IP. When I was doing the infrared, I was using the URC system. And the problem with the URC system is if they didn't have a custom config for a specific device, you were out of luck. You know, and in addition to that, you had to pay for all of it. So, you know, two things on this: it's free, and it's just totally flexible.
I was trying to show my remote. That's exactly what I have. Is I have the URC. And
Okay,
guess
yeah,
what?
I was going to ask you.
I got my guy on speed dial, and when I need him, he contacts me rather quickly, even any hour of the day. I just have to. I'm sorry, I know it's 10 o'clock at night, but I had to do that very, very rarely. It was just in the beginning when there were bugs in the system. But yeah, I like URC a lot. It's easy, and you're right though, Vern. I don't do any of it myself, and if I want to, you know, configure something, or if I think of something I want to do, I contact him. But
Yeah,
you know, that's just a different mentality.
well,
John,
my
question.
background was a little different in that I was at CEDIA for, I don't know, probably 8, 9 years ago. And I went to a URC class, and they were actually handing out the URC remotes.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of how I got into it, and that's why I never paid anybody to do anything. But
So
you're right.
the web. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you're right. The batteries in the URC, they're a special battery. They don't last terribly long, and some of the replacement batteries even seem to have issues.
So the HT Web remote, Rusty. So that's Nick, the guy that comes to MWave?
Yeah, projector Nick.
Funny. So that's his program. He developed it.
Yeah,
That's his baby. Oh, how
yeah.
funny.
That's his day job is he's a software programmer.
Is that the guy that was in one of? I think he's been in a couple of Youthman's videos.
Yep.
Is that the same
That's
guy?
Same Nick.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen his video. He's the same guy that created the whole like fan thing with the in one of those
Yep.
JTR videos. Yeah. Okay.
That's
yeah,
him.
that guy's smart. I haven't met him, but I was like, man, he did that on the fly. So
Painfully smart. Like I hate
He's super smart. He's that kind of smart that makes you mad because he's so smart.
Yeah, like dang it.
like how come I didn't
What
get those
happened?
jeans?
It's like, well, hold on. When we were dividing this up, I didn't get my share.
Right.
Hey, John. So I don't have any experience with Control 4 or URC, and I forget there's another pretty big player.
Crestron Savant.
Crestron, yeah.
Crestron Savant, yeah. And so I like the idea of it because I hear really good things, especially Control 4 is a really popular one. But the big turnoff to me has always been like you cannot modify it yourself. Is that true? Is it so? You said you use your guy. Is that because you have to use your guy, or you choose to use your guy?
Yeah. Okay. So in my house, I have all Control 4, and they have a web browser, a web-based GUI that you can change things, change different rooms, different zones, set up. You know, when this happens, make this almost like if then, like make this happen when I say this into the Echo make this happen, or when I drive into my garage, make this happen, depending on how much you have integrated. And a lot of that you can do on your own because it's coded to be super user friendly. URC might have that ability, but I've never seen it because I just have it for my theater. And the only time I've ever had to call them was just like, hey, it's not working with my KALEIDESCAPE because my KALEIDESCAPE didn't get updated, or it didn't they didn't talk together and say, hey, it's time to update. And KALEIDESCAPE updated and it worked fine. My KALEIDESCAPE was fine. I could still operate it, but not through the URC remote. And that doesn't always happen. Like, things update all the time. I don't even know it until it happens. And then I'll contact him and say, hey, why isn't this working? And usually he can do it remotely. I'll go, okay, let me, delete this and add this and configure this. And he all does it from his computer, where he is at his home, at his office, and he can change anything. So yeah, sometimes you got to be patient, but when it only happens once every 3 months, it's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I'm too bothered by, that I can't control it all. And my whole lighting system and everything inside my house, that's when I want to have different zones set up for different times of day or when I go to bed, and that I can operate, and that's Control 4, and that's just a web interface that for the clients.
Yeah. In my use case, and I still might try it out someday. But I'm a tinkerer, so I'm always changing something. And if I can do a lot of those changes myself, that makes me more interested in it. I heard some, and I don't have firsthand experience, but I've heard that maybe some integrators would charge, if you need one small change made, I don't know, charge a pretty high, unit fee.
If they come out here that, if they're out for an hour, they're just going to charge me an hourly rate that's reasonable,
Yeah, but so if you needed like a little 5-minute change, if it takes them 5 minutes, do they charge you?
I would say for the most integrators, if they installed your system, then they're invested in your system and they're going to help you out with this little thing here, this little tweak here, because they want to keep your business and they're grateful that you gave them their business. Now, let's say your system was already there, or now you're with a different integrator and they didn't do your system personally. I could see then they would charge you because they have, even if they come over and, I know integrators hate working with someone else's project. If they didn't do it, I get that. I understand that because they didn't put it together. So then I could see maybe they nickel and dime you a little bit more as an integrator because it's not a system that they know and it might take them a little bit longer. But yeah, I like the URC. You were saying, you push a couple buttons and it fires it up. So remember, I have a detached theater, just like 100 feet in another direction. But I just use Echo, and since everything is integrated together, I just say the A word, and I'll just say for her to turn on Apple TV or turn on KALEIDESCAPE. And so by the time I'm out here, everything's ready. The lights are dimmed or the lights are on, and the system is up and running. My projector is down, and that's just one command. And of course, that's just a simple, Echo integration with the URC system that they set up. So, yeah, I like my automation. It's wonderful.
I think if I remember, I think Jordan actually showed that in the video. Some pretty cool, like you have some like light animations that that's kind of cool.
The dimming where you can go down to like 1%. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
John has a little flare.
Yeah, well, how it was originally how my lights are set up with the LED and the can lights in the ceiling was just they came on, which is normally how you would do it. I said, you know what? Could you have them, ramp down like a corridor in a spaceship, like it slowly comes on. I always say it's almost like like Darth Vader's lightsaber. How it comes on, comes up slowly, and then it goes down. So that kind of have my room doing that, where the can it's each zone. So the can lights and the front LEDs will go off, and then the middle cans and the middle LEDs will go off. So it just ramps back, and then it can ramp back on. So yeah, just little effects that I don't know. I just because of the integration ability and that they can time it to do that, it was just like, yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's super cool. I wish
I think it's
I mean,
cool.
you can do some of that stuff with, smart bulbs, but to go down to like 1%, that's I don't think you can do that with many
Right.
smart.
Or they start flickering, right? You get down to like 10%.
Yeah.
If you try to dial it down any lower than that, and they just start flickering with the DMF bulbs or the DMF housing and the motor, the driver, not the motor, but the driver that's in it. Yeah, you can. That's one of the guarantees they have. If you're using a licensed installer, that they'll guarantee it down to a 1% dimming ability or 1% increments starting at 1 going all 97, 98, 99. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about. I think pretty much everybody in here, except me, is using some version as madVR. I'm the poor man over here, living by himself. So yeah, you got the madVR processing. So Rusty, R2D2, and Vern, you guys are using the madVR PC version. So Rusty, R2D2, why don't you tell us about why you use that? And I think you mentioned in the video it's kind of not for the faint of heart. Like, it's a lot of tinkering, and I think you maybe even said, like, if you have the budget to, like, you would encourage people to go the actual plug and play, like, madVR Envy route.
Yeah, so, well, I'll just start on the madVR. Honestly, Vern will be, I'll tell you my experience, but Vern will definitely be the more knowledgeable one.
Okay.
So, but, I was reading through AVS, a lot of forums to figure out how it worked and settings. But where I really had the issue was getting it to play nicely with a player, to get it to integrate well with a player that I liked. So, originally I liked Plex because I used that all over the house, but the only way to use it within Plex, actually, I don't even think Plex allows external players, but you can with Envy, would be to open it, you hit play, open an external player that supports madVR. Well, the problem is Plex doesn't support madVR. Even if it did with an external player, you lose all your, where you left off. So if you want to come in the next day and hit continue on a movie you were watching, it doesn't support that. So KODI does support that, and I really liked the interface. It's slick. It looks modern, and I guess it's more of what I'm used to. But it was very difficult to get KODI and madVR to play nice together and work. Finally figured it out, but it took, hours of reading through the KODI wikis and AVS forums for madVR. But I don't regret it. 100% it was, madVR is incredible. Even the HTPC version is incredible, and it just helps. I'd say if you had an OLED TV, the difference that madVR makes would be less, but when you're talking about a projector, it makes a massive difference, the HDR to SDR tone mapping.
And so you're using KODI with the madVR PC. So you said it took a while. About how long would you say? Is this like over the course of days, weeks, months?
Probably a couple of weeks. But I mean, me, I got my theater up and running in 3 months. So my 2 weeks was like probably every day for hours on end for 2 weeks to get it all set up to where I don't have to touch it anymore.
Okay. Vern, what's your input on the madVR PC version? Why'd you go that route?
I started using madVR for aspect ratio control back, I don't know, probably 7-8 years ago. This was before HDR was even, the glimmer in some developer's eye somewhere. So the interface for me was never difficult. The primary issue with the PC version And basically, it's very similar to the code that's in the Envy. It's just that the user interface is quite different. And the original issue that I always found with it was purely one of too many buttons and too many parameters, where, like Rusty said, you could spend weeks trying to get something to work. Now, I always used mine with either JRiver, which it's integrated with, or with a direct show player called Zoom Player. And as long as you're using the native direct show environment, integrating it takes, all of about 5 minutes. Download it, install it, hit the install script in the madVR, and magically it'll show up as an option for direct show players. The issue, though, is when you are trying to use the extension of the tone mapping and all the other things, because at the time it started, tone mapping was a very inexact science. There were several attempts at it. And the JVC projector has its own native tone mapping, but it's not really, there's a limited amount of processor power available in that projector. So there's a limited amount of things that can be done with the tone mapping native in the projector. So once you figure out the different parameters and what they do, and again, those parameters will vary depending on, well, for example, my RS3100 on medium laser is 110 nits, brightness for whites. So that's one of the parameters you have to enter. And then there's another parameter that says, okay, how do you want me to tone map the brightness below that? And yet another one for how do you want me to tone map it above it? So it's really highly customizable. Now I have to say that is the old madVR, if you will. In the last, probably month or 2 months, Matchy, who wrote the code, has actually been active on the forum with a bunch of new betas where he has been trying very hard to simplify this. So it's not near as bad as it used to be. Yeah, so if you use a direct show player, it's easy to integrate. If you download one of the latest betas, it is also much easier to configure. And it's important to note that the madVR PC code is the basis for the Envy. That, if you will, was the prototype for the Envy code.
Okay.
So, that's why the two are quite similar. There's a couple things the PC version doesn't do, like nonlinear stretch. But for the most part, from an image quality standpoint, the two are comparable.
All right. Cool. Yeah, because we're going to talk about that plug and play too. And I don't know, did we lose John? Did he get kicked off?
I saw him audio only, but
yeah, it looks like he either he got kicked off or he may have left. So we'll see if he gets back on. There he is. There's John.
My audio cuts out and I get a really bad squeal. I log back in. Everything's fine.
Huh.
Yeah, you
That's
sound
weird.
kind of echoey now.
Yeah.
Do I? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I don't think you're on your good mic.
Yeah, I don't think you're on your
All right.
Sure.
Copy that.
So while he's doing that, Rusty, you want to talk about Mitch? You want to talk about the madVR Envy? So we've got the madVR PC version, which I believe is free, right? You don't have to pay
Correct.
for that. Okay.
yes, that's free.
And then you have the. Remind me of which one you have. You have
Yeah, it's a mouthful. It's a madVR Envy Extreme Mark II.
Okay. So I've seen it multiple times. I've seen it at shows. I saw it at your house. I saw it at John's house. And yeah, it's amazing what it can do just for the HDR, especially if you have a projector but also, you know, if you have like a scope screen or even 60x9 screen, you can do the auto, the nonlinear stretch. So why did you go the madVR route?
Yeah, so one of the big differentiators is if you want to be able to use madVR with a source device other than your PC, you pretty much have to use the NV. So say you want to use it on your Apple TV or I don't know, another Blu-ray player, you would need to use the appliance. So the big difference is the free version, you put it on your own Windows PC. As long as you have it doesn't even have to be a great processor, but a decent processor and a pretty good video card. Yeah, I think a good recommendation would be like a 3080 or above. It doesn't even have to be that, but that's solid. And if you're playing stuff that was ripped to your local stuff through a media player, like the guys were talking about, works great for that. But if you wanted to play your Apple TV through it, there is a way to do it that is unsupported. It's a hack. It's unsupported, and it's actually, I think, probably technically illegal. But
and this is on yours.
Well, no, sorry. If you're doing the PC version,
PC,
you have to do all these weird workarounds,
Gotcha.
and it kind of works, but it's not robust. Well, if you use the NV, the appliance, which is essentially just a PC, you can run any input device through that, any source device. And I did the desktop version for a while, and it was just with trying to use other sources, and it just was not it wasn't reliable, and it's not supported, so that's why it's not reliable.
Well, let me interrupt you just a second, Russ, if you don't mind. So was your first introduction to the madVR NV the same as mine?
Yes.
In person at MWave. So the first MWave, we're going to be pitching MWave from time to time because that's where we all met.
Right.
That's where we all fell in love, guys. And that's where we kind of developed our DFW meetup group because we were jealous of the Kansas City guys. But that's where we saw it, right? I mean, they put, and you can go watch the videos from the first MWave that Youthman has, and they even did it on the second MWave. They took, and it was blind comparisons. They took what'd they take? I mean, they even had some Epsons there.
Sony.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember.
Sony, JVC.
I mean, right. They had the Sony and the JVC and some higher end Epsons, and then they had some lower end, and then they would hook up some of those lower end with the madVR, and then they would have, and then they would just play it with. Or maybe it was the NX5. So let's say they took the NX5, hooked it up to the madVR, and then they took just the regular NZ8. Dude, we could not. We were like, I think we were leaning towards that NX5. So you got Bulb or older generation, and I want to say I know they did it. Maybe I can't remember if they did it there or at what created MWave, and that was at Ryan's house where they did the shootout there.
When they first did it.
And they hooked up like an Epson with the madVR, and then they hooked up a nice NZ7 or NZ5, I don't know, or NZ7, and the Epson looked better. Just because what the video processing can do, and that's not to rip on the Epson products. I mean, Epson, great bright levels. If your budget isn't ready for a JVC, they're great, especially the 11,000 or 12,000. Those are excellent. But yeah, so that was our first introduction, right, Rusty, to that. And so they did a blind comparison. We didn't know what was going on and say, how about now? How about now? What do you like more? Left screen, right screen, A screen, B screen. And they had two, 150, 100? No, it wasn't 150.
Yeah, they were both 150s because that's what I ended up buying was one of those.
So that's huge, right? That's big screens right in front of us. And every time, whatever the madVR was hooked up to, we chose that one. And we didn't know. It was all going on behind our heads.
And yeah, that was the important. It was a blind test, so we didn't know what we were looking at. I mean, unless
And
you
we were kind of
cheated.
nervous, right? They're like, oh shoot, we didn't want to be the one that couldn't distinguish, or but
Yeah.
every time,
So
man, that
you're right. That was my
was
first
convincing.
exposure. And, it wasn't a sales pitch. It was a demonstration. And it's like, it was astonishing at how significant a difference it made. And I was instantly in love, because it's like, man, you pair this thing and it just makes your image, just on HDR tone mapping alone, it was astonishing. And so the problem with these things is you see them and then you see the price and it's like, oh boy, that's a stinger.
It's projector. It's
That's
expensive
not-
projector.
It's a stinger. And so for a year plus, I wanted one, and I went the do it yourself route, and it works. It wasn't it works like for what Vern and Rusty are doing. It's perfect. For what I was trying to do, it didn't work for me. It was finicky. It was finicky, especially with the family. Like, nobody could operate it except for me. So that kind of made a deal breaker. Eventually, after lusting for the envy, after envying the envy, I mean, it is appropriately
Nice pun.
named. It is. I mean, I was envious. I wanted the envy, and I finally just broke down. I just cashed out my kids' college fund and just bought it and haven't looked back. I mean, they're probably not going to go.
The important thing is you told your wife.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yes,
You can't
it
make
was
a purchase like that without.
always pre-approved. And I haven't looked back, man. It's amazing. And the thing that's beautiful about it is, contrary to what RB and Vern had said, like, there's a fair learning curve to tinkering. Like, seriously, you plug in the power, plug in your HDMI, you got an in and an out, in from your processor, your audio processor, out to your projector. And then really all you have to do is set up a couple of settings in your JVC or your projector. It's really easy. And then you set your nits level. You just measure it with a simple, pretty cheap meter, put that in, and then it's working. Now, you can tinker. If you want to tinker, you can tinker for ages and control every little thing that you want to, but it's all done through a remote and an on-screen interface instead of a bunch of check boxes on a Windows PC. So it's a great user experience and a great interface, and it's a great product, and it's priced accordingly.
So Easy Home Theater Tech says, told the wife it was on sale for $3,500. I wish it was $3,500. That's in my
Buy 10
price
of them.
range. Yeah.
Buy 10 of them.
Buy 10 of them and then resell them. What were you, Vern? You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to say I'd own an Envy, but being retired and on a relatively limited income compared to most of these guys, I just can't afford it.
I can't afford it. I'm still working.
No, I can't either.
It would be
That makes three of us.
it's clearly the right choice.
Right.
The main difference is in that cost is that not only is the hardware just stellar in terms of build and the product that's in it, the CPUs, the video cards, but they also had to get the company that makes the video capture card to modify their code, and then I'm sure they're paying a licensing fee to somebody to be able to market that as a legal product to take in video and basically decrypt it, do the processing. And it is a sealed box. I mean, you can't go in there and start tinkering with it because of that licensing issue.
Yep.
And so for me, where the majority of my stuff is either a hard Blu-ray, which I can play without any problems through madVR and upscale it to 4K, or a UHD, which doesn't need to come from the media server, it works. And I just don't do a lot of streaming. So for me, that was my rationale on where I am. I suppose if somebody dies and leaves me a bunch of money, I'd probably go out and buy an envy. But it's just not going to happen in my individual work case.
Hey, Vern, I'll just I'll put it in my will. If I die, I'll just will you my envy. No money,
okay.
just the envy.
Yeah. Don't need the money. I mean, you know, as a retiree, I'm comfortable. I just don't have the kind of disposable income to spend $14,000 on a standalone box.
Yeah, but if you can't afford it, man, do it. I'm gonna try to see if maybe at some point I can get like a review unit and try to make some videos with it. But it's incredible. And then you have all the other stuff that it can do, like the nonlinear stretch, and I mean it's a very, very powerful.
And
piece
Rusty's
of
has
equipment.
the smoothing capability as
Yeah.
well.
Motion AI.
The Mark
Yeah.
II.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty sweet too.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
we
not,
didn't
I
even
say
talk
smoothing,
about-
and that can throw people off because not like soap opera effect, but
Right.
Yeah,
It's
the-
AI.
Yeah, it's AI based. The smoothing in the latest Envy is actually AI based, and from what I've read, it's head and shoulders above just about, well, definitely head and shoulders above the JVC's capability, and head and shoulders above just about anything else out there in terms of the smoothing process. Or actually, it's really known as frame interpolation,
Right.
where they're basically filling in between the frames on the existing source with the modified frames by looking at the preceding and the following one, and then, you know, figuring, okay, this is where it would be halfway between those two time frames.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we barely touched on those other features because I think kind of for me, the most dramatic thing about it is the tone mapping. But I use all the other features too, and I guess Motion AI is a very close second. That's one of those things that if most people are familiar with the soap opera effect, that it just looks weird and fake and on most motion processing. And that what's great about, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how MAJESTIC figured this out, but it looks smooth without looking like soap opera effect.
Yeah.
And once at first when you start doing it, it's a little bit it looks different, but within probably an hour you get used to it, then you don't want to go back. The other, like the nonlinear stretch, you know, I use that for like when I have Netflix content where it's got little gray bars, I'll go ahead and stretch it out to 16:9. When it's other weird resolutions, I still use 16:9 and 2351 because I have the automatic masking. But when I have in between formats that are close to, but not exactly one of those two, I use the stretch to get it to the next closest one. And it's so seamless, like you can't even tell it's being stretched because of the non-linear nature. And then the other thing, I didn't think this was going to be significant, but it actually became very significant to me, is dialing in the screen area. You can, like, to a pixel. So if you've ever installed a projector in a screen, you know the pain of getting them perfectly aligned to where there's no skew and you've got full coverage, and you don't want a lot of overscan because you're wasting light, but you also you don't want underscan because then there's unlit portions of the screen, and it can be very difficult to get it like perfect. Well, it's pretty much impossible to get it perfect because then, you know, you get it right and then something moves, the wind blows. So the nice thing about this is you can do it, and then using the remote and a cursor, you can fine tune the area, the boundaries of the screen to get it exactly where you want it. And then you can do the same thing for like when you have a mask mode for like 235, you can also you can set that screen boundary. So I appreciate that.
That's pretty cool. Yo, we got Techno Dad in the house. What's going on, man?
Hey, Techno Dad.
Thank you for joining. Techno Dad, are you going to be at M-Wave this year? I don't think I saw him there last year.
Does he leave California?
I don't know. Well, he does for CES. I know he was there last year. I didn't run into him last year, but I don't know if he's going this year. I unfortunately am not able to go this year. I'm gonna have to skip out on that one. But yeah, thank you for joining in, Techno Dad. Okay, so KODI versus Plex versus KALEIDESCAPE, because this is where I think most of everybody in here is using something different. So we got, I know R2D2, he's using KODI. I believe most of everybody in here has some experience with Plex, correct?
No, I mean, I know
No?
about it and I
Okay.
researched it, but I
Not
researched
really.
it
Not
to
really
figure out I
good.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's definitely, so I'll say with Plex, I've used Plex for probably 10 plus years or so now. I'm not really using it anymore because I have the Zadu, but I will say Plex is very convenient if you want to just stream everything on anything. Like, it doesn't matter, Apple TV, Xbox. There are some limitations, like with Apple TV, they don't let you, and that's a limitation of Apple. They don't give you the bitstream, at least for, Dolby Atmos. You can do PCM. But Plex is very good if you want to stream anything on everything from anywhere, as long as it's MKV and like MP4. And you can also do stuff like you can do stream to watch together, stuff like that. So it's very good, but it's also limited as far as like you can't do ISO files, you can't do 3D BD ISO files, you can't do BDMB folders, so stuff like that. As far as KODI, so for me personally, when I first started doing the whole ripping and everything, I started with KODI because that was, I think it was a little bit more popular with Plex. Plex was just getting started. I think KODI is very good, but it's not as user friendly. It may be now. To me, it wasn't as user friendly as Plex, and after a while, I was just like, I don't want to deal with this, and then I moved on to Plex. But Rusty, you're using KODI, so why did you go with KODI versus Plex? I know you kind of mentioned it.
Yeah. So, KODI, what you were just saying there. No, KODI is by far way more tedious and not as user friendly as Plex. Like, not even close. So Plex I was using to begin with, and especially I still use it, but it's just to stream my library around the house. So to my living room to my bedroom, all from the same media server, and also offsite. But it's well, that's not as important to me. It's mainly for on-site watching, because locally it plays at the same bit rate as it was, through the full bit rate. So I can play it in the living room, and it's just like I have the Blu-ray and the disc drive. All right, so KODI, it can do those things too. It offers some streaming. It's just, man, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. It takes so much more setup to get it working right. So you're like, why are you using KODI? Well, for this room, for basically a interface for my home theater, it works great, and it's not as difficult to get set up and going. It actually works really good, and it plays nice with madVR because it supports a direct show player.
Okay.
And I love the interface. So like another one, I know Vern's using J River. That one is also a very good option. It was just my preference. I checked them both out, and I liked the interface better with KODI. So that's why I really wanted KODI. But yeah, so as far as Plex versus KODI, I'm not even the streaming aspect of it. Complete Plex. It's just for the interface for my theater room. I really love KODI, and like I said, it works with madVR.
Yeah, KODI's got some really cool stuff. I mean, they've got like different skins that you can do, and I did really like the interface. It's just when like the back end where you're having to set up, and I feel like I didn't like the controls as much as I did like with Plex. So they both definitely have their advantages, and I know KODI even started as what, XBMC or something like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's been
So what external
iterative.
player are you using with your KODI?
So I'm actually using DS player.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just directional player. But basically, I'm not using the latest version of KODI. The latest version of KODI doesn't support using a directional player. They have their own player, so I had to go back to a version of KODI that supports using a directional player.
Which directional player is your preference?
Well, like I said, one that's on it is just it's called DS player. It was, came built in.
Okay, so it's the built-in directional player. All right.
Correct.
Okay.
And Vern, we're gonna get to you real quick. Rusty says definitely want to go to CES. Is it even possible to see everything given the size? Techno Dad says I'm going to CES this week. Man, CES, I've only been once. CES is absolutely like just beyond massive. Like it's ridiculous how big it is because you have the main convention center, which is ridiculously massive, but then they also have different venues at like some of the hotels, the casino hotels. So you have to take like a bus and go over there. That part is not as big, but man, I think the first day, my first day there, I think I did like 20,000 steps.
Wow.
You've got to wear comfortable shoes. I think like the second and third day I did maybe like 15,000, 16,000 each. And that's just because I like went home early because I was like, man, I'm tired. But it's massive, dude. But if you can go, it's an incredible experience. Everybody's there. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff there that you've never even heard of, that you've never even seen. It's an incredible experience. I actually registered to go, but some other stuff came up, and I was like, you know what? Financially, it's probably not smart for me to go because you got to get a hotel, you got to get a plane ticket, and then you got to worry about food and stuff. So I was like, let me just wait and just skip that and just wait till M-Wave, and then probably 2025. Hopefully,
So you're
I'll
saying
be able to
you're not being comped in the high roller suite?
I wish, man. I'm sure there's probably somebody that could do that, but I'm not there yet.
You just have to gamble and lose a lot of money, right?
So I will say you are able to, as a content creator, I can register as media, and they have a certain amount they have a requirement. So for YouTube is like the lowest. So YouTube, and you have to like send them a screenshot. You have to show them. YouTube's requirement is you have to get 50,000 views per month. So as long as you can prove that, then you can do that. For TikTok, it's like something crazy, like 150,000. They have different tiers for like the platform. So thankfully last year I had like a really good month before I registered, because I wasn't even at 50. I think it was at like 26, and I got a bunch of videos, and the count was going every day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just wait till it gets over the 50, and then I'm gonna submit it. And I was like, I don't know if this is like an average they want to see, but I just sent them a screenshot, and they were like, yeah, it's approved. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I got in for free for that. But as far as like hotels and food and traveling back and forth, like it can get expensive real quick.
So
Okay,
send in those super chats.
Is that a 5-day
send in the
event?
super chats. It's so the actual event is 3-day. They have some press stuff like a day before. I think I went to one on Thursday. So this year it's actually different. It's Thursday through Saturday, I believe, or it might be through Friday. Last year it was like Friday through Sunday. Sunday is like kind of dead. Everybody's going back, but I think this year they changed it. It's either Thursday through Saturday or Wednesday through Friday. But yeah, it's a fun experience. It's just massive. Jay Boogie says, Techno Dad, you're kidding, right? No, he's not kidding, man. Go watch his videos. He's if you're talking about this, I don't think he's joking about that. Okay, Vern, why did you go with the I forgot what I was on now.
J River?
Yeah. So you're using J River, right? Yeah, because you're not using KODI and you're not using Plex. And you don't have a KALEIDESCAPE. You're using J River.
Okay, so I really use two players. I use J River when I want a GUI front end, but I also have a MySQL database that lists all of my media, and it also shows the location of the hard disk. If there's a Blu-ray or a DVD, I can go pull that out and I can put that in the PC player with no problem.
Okay.
However, the limits when using most direct show players is you can only view the main feature, if you will, the main subject. Now, if I bring it up in JRiver, besides having the GUI to choose from, at least on the server-based stuff, it doesn't help any when you got a physical disk. You do have the option to choose, give me the menu. And so once you've got the menu, now you have full access to all of the optional features and things like that. So that's the main reason that I would use JRiver for. It's also worth noting that JRiver is, in addition to giving you the madVR option, will give you the option of a open source tone mapping algorithm called Live Placebo. So there are actually now on JRiver 2 options for tone mapping HDR. And while the Live Placebo has made some pretty good strides, I still think it's not quite where madVR is in terms of quality.
Okay.
So for me, it's really a supplemental player. It's not my daily driver. The daily driver is usually Zoom player. And one of the reasons I use that is it gives you like 12 different aspect ratio presets that you can define. So with a click of a button on the remote, I can choose anything from 177 to 2.76 to 1. And it fits in with my screen,
Perfectly.
and the way I use my theater better.
Nice. So Rusty and John, you guys got the basically kind of like the
lazy
plug and
man's
play.
version.
Yeah, the plug and play, almost like the madVR, where you just actually, I just downloaded my first movie today on KALEIDESCAPE, so I haven't watched it yet, but
Yeah, you finally popped your cherry.
I finally decided to. I was like, you know what? I think I'm good now. Let me go ahead and just download a movie, and so I'll probably watch that this weekend. But why did you guys go with KALEIDESCAPE, and did you try any of these other stuff? I know John said you didn't try Plex, but is there anything else that you guys, any other platforms that you guys courted before, or like what led you to KALEIDESCAPE? John, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. Well, I was building my theater with the company I was using, which is Dream Media out here in DFW, and I was at a standstill in being able to build it. I was designing it in my head, so I researched for like a year, just YouTube videos and every website and every forum and people talking about it and people hating on KALEIDESCAPE because only stupid people spend that much. And then you should just use Plex. I'm like, okay, let's see about Plex. I'm not stupid. I can figure it out. But you just have to get these servers and blah, 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 this, and then this will happen. And then this can go bad and this can go bad. And the learning curve, no, I'm going to pay and I just want it to work. And I want it to be pretty and I want it to be just easy user interface and just everything to just be seamless, right? And I don't want things to not work. And then, well, what if KALEIDESCAPE shuts down? Well, what if
That could happen with anything.
What if gasoline stops being available? So why do you have a car? Or what if Apple shuts down? Why did you buy an iPhone? Like, you could play the what if game all day if a company shuts down. Research and see. Yes, they had some trouble back when they weren't doing everything above board totally, and now they have a contract with every single movie studio. they kind of have a legal monopoly going on.
Yep.
Because they're so far into it, it's hard for anyone to catch up. And yeah, it's going to be expensive because movie studios are going to charge a lot to work with them, right? So they charge a lot for their hardware, right? For their software, for the programming, for all their employees that help do all the coding and make everything work and integrate and make the lights dim and turn back on when the credits come up and just things like that, all that. And then making sure everything is seamless throughout all the movies when they do the mezzanine file. And it's a great system, and it's easy. And yes, it's expensive, but it's worth it. And then I think the biggest thing is people say, you get into the argument of, what's better, a 4K disc or KALEIDESCAPE. And if that's where if that's the hill you're going to die on of why you got KALEIDESCAPE, because it's so much better in audio and video than a 4K disc, you're going to have a hard fight. Because yeah, that does exist. Some files are a little bit larger, but why die on that hill? You have KALEIDESCAPE for convenience over a 4K disc. It's just easier. I don't have a bunch of discs taking up a whole wall. And that's why I like it. It's convenient, and I can sit there on my remote and never get up and flip through 400 movies. If I'm just going to watch certain scenes or I want to do a bunch of demos, I can do that just with a touch of a button. So I like that ability, and I don't want to learn Plex. I don't want that headache. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I can say from experience, and I don't know if this has ever happened to anyone else, but I pretty much rip all my content, buy my movies, and I rip them. I'm going to start using the KALEIDESCAPE a little bit more, but I've had 2 discs let me back up a little bit. Occasionally, when you rip your own movies, sometimes you'll come across a movie that just won't rip for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the specific disc or that's like movie, just some corporations that make it to where it's tough. But I've had 2 discs that I've stuck in my drive to burn, left it overnight, and I've come back the next morning, opened the disc, and my disc has disintegrated. Like, it's shattered.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if that's happened to anyone else, but I figured out. Yeah,
No,
so
not yet.
it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's taking a while.
Spinning so fast.
It's spinning so fast, and what I figured out, I think it's spinning for so long that it just doesn't stop, and it gets heated, and I guess whatever it does to it. But yeah, I've that's happened to me twice. It happened to me a couple months ago. I forget what movie it was, but the first time it happened, it was Man of Steel. I had just bought the remastered version. I know, like my favorite movie of all time.
Well, I mean, it's made of steel, Man of Steel, and it breaks.
Fraud. So then you have to worry about stuff like that, or sometimes it just won't burn, or sometimes you have the Blu-ray obfuscation where a company says, you know what, I'm going to make this look like there's 150 files on here, and you don't know which one it is to burn.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
people can poo-poo on KALEIDESCAPE all day, but
and disc. I mean, for the first time in 2 months, I finally popped a disc into my my Blu-ray player, my 4K, and then and it was because I wanted to watch All Quiet on the Western Front. I didn't want to see the Netflix version. I didn't want to watch it streaming. I wanted to watch the disc, and I had the disc, and it froze on me in the same part.
That'll happen to you
2 times. So I'm not saying disc is bad. Please buy disc. Keep discs alive. Keep physical media going. But it's like, there's my first experience with a disc in my 4K player in 2 months, and it freezes twice. Is it my player? Is it the disc? I don't know, but it's never happened with the KALEIDESCAPE. It's just
probably
convenience.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Rusty,
Jordan,
what's your thought on?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you did that. It sounds like user error to me if you're destroying these discs, because I think they make those discs out of the same material they make the unbreakable combs out of.
Pretty much. So
pretty stout.
So I'll tell you what happened. What happened was I put it in the tray, and it just kept spinning and spinning, and so I stopped it, and then like another day later I tried it again, and I could see the percentage, like it was going really, really, really slow. More slow than what it normally does. So I was like, you know what, maybe it's just whatever, this disc. So I left it overnight, and when I came back the next morning, I don't know if it was still spinning the whole time or at some point it stopped, but I think it just got heated up, and I hit the eject button because I got an error on it. It said that it didn't finish, and when I opened up, I was like, "What?" Like it literally disintegrated to the point to where it got inside of my computer. Like I had to take the drive out, like pull it out, and then tip everything over. So, and I was like, "What?" I had never had that happen before. I'd probably done 200 discs, and then a couple months ago, it was the Stanley. What is the famous Stanley Kubrick one? The outer space movie.
2001.
2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah. So I bought the remastered version with Dolby Vision, all that. Same thing happened. I couldn't get it to rip, and I left it for like months and months later, and then I tried to do it again, and I guess I forgot. I left it overnight, came back the next morning, opened it, disintegrated, and I'm like, furious.
Oh,
so
man.
there's times when I haven't met anyone else that's happened to, but the
crazy.
Blu-ray works fine, and on both of those it was the Ultra HD Blu-ray. So I don't know what happened with that.
I don't know.
But Rusty, what about you with your K-Scape? Did you try anything else? I know in the video you said you had an NVIDIA Shield, and then you have a Zadoo too, right?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
mostly use it as a do for playing things that I can't play on KALEIDESCAPE, demo materials and test tracks and things like that. Yeah, KALEIDESCAPE was something I was actually introduced to at the first M Wave, and that was another thing I was ruined because once you've like experienced it, you don't want to go back to anything else. So I adopted that pretty early on. In prior years, I'd used Apple TV, and like Benny had said in the chat, I just got spoiled with the user interface and the convenience. Like none of this going to Redbox nonsense or Blockbuster. Like I can just, when I want to watch a movie, just go buy it in the store, and it was a convenience factor more than anything. I didn't have to keep track of physical media. It was all neat and organized. And not only that, on the Apple TV, you can use it. You buy it on one device, and you can use it on any of your devices. And so we've been sucked into the Apple ecosystem vortex. They do a great job of that. But it's a good, it's a good product. So I used Apple TV pretty much exclusively for a long time, and then when I started, I get this 150-inch screen and these much better speakers as I'm elevating my theater game. The quality becomes pretty obvious. Like you see the flaws when you blow it up to 150 inches when your speakers are more revealing. So Apple TV just wasn't. It's still good, but it wasn't quite there for me. And so I wanted the disc level, and I don't think you can tell. I can't tell the difference between disc and KALEIDESCAPE, but I wanted that quality, but the convenience of streaming of Apple TV. And I looked around at the different options, and here's what it comes down to me. So if you want the quality, you want a great user interface, you want the convenience factor, like you're not having to deal with disc, and then here's another big one. If you don't want to deal with pirating movies, well, you either have to pirate them or rip them yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just, like you kind of mentioned, there's always like these little glitchy things, like when you're doing things where you're kind of on the fringe of the law, or and I'm not going to say that it's like making backup copies. I don't think that's a bad thing, but pirating, I don't agree with.
Right. That's like
and
illegal.
So, yeah, just straight up downloading them illegally. I don't do that. And so if you want those things, then there is one option on the market. And that's frustrating because, like John said, they basically have a monopoly. Like it is the only way to legally get digital high-res movies in a great user interface. And at that point, you either pay for it or you pass. And then you pass, there's some great options. Like, financially, it makes more sense to do what Vern and Rusty are doing. because you can still get the quality. You just have to deal with that extra step of ripping your content and just managing it, managing the environment. Whereas, I mean, Kaleidescape makes it is as painless as like Apple TV. So that's my take on it.
Cool. Yeah, and I think.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
I did want to say, so one thing that I think is great about Kaleidescape too is on the movie pricing. I've rarely, maybe 2 or 3 times have I paid more than $10 for a movie.
Yep.
Yep. I go through there and put all these different things on my hearted, liked, whatever list.
Yeah, it's just a wish list.
Wish list. Thank you.
Yeah, save it to your favorites or wishes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put all these things on my wish list, and then I just let it go. And they run specials all the time. And they send me an email and it says, hey, a movie on your wish list is currently on sale. And they're frequently on sale for $9.99.
Wow.
So I've bought most movies that I own, and I just keep a running list and a backlog, and I've got more movies that I've never watched.
And if it's a series of movies, like if it's I don't know, if it's all the
Planet of the Apes or something.
Right. Yeah. So like all the Bourne, I think I got all the Jason Bourne for maybe $8.50 a piece because it was a deal. It was they went on sale, and then the combo deal made it even more than that. I think right now, like you can get all the Bond movies for what, $202, $220. It's basically $8 a movie.
Like all of them?
All of them.
Wow.
Yeah, all the way, No Time to Die, and all the way back to the original.
Man.
Yeah, and I think it's like a little over $200, but that's
a great deal.
Yeah, I don't even know how many movies. So yeah, so on top of just the $9.99, you can get them cheaper than that if it happens to be a series.
I mean, and it doesn't compensate for the upfront cost, but it's kind of nice that at least you're not getting, you're not paying $50 a movie.
Nope.
Yeah, and it sounds like I've seen in the comments. Sounds like most people. I tend to buy stuff the week of just because I don't want to wait. But it seems like most people wait anyways. Like they're not. I've seen a lot of comments in other people's channels where they're like, "Yeah, I just wait till it goes on sale," or "I wait till Black Friday." Like I'm not gonna wait 11 months to buy a movie. I bought Gran Turismo. I downloaded it yesterday, and it was like $19 or like maybe even cheaper than that. And I was like, oh wow, that's really cheap. So I was like, okay, yeah, I don't have that, I'll buy that. So yeah, but aside from the price, if you take the price out of it, the only thing that I feel like bothers me for the price is that it doesn't support Dolby Vision. And the answer that I've heard is that because I guess most of the consumer base is projector people. And I've heard that, I don't know if this is official, but the reason is because projectors aren't supporting Dolby Vision. There's like no reason for them to do that. And at some point when projectors get to the point, if they ever do, where they can support Dolby Vision, then they'll start doing it. That's my only gripe when it's like, okay, as much as it is, like it should have Dolby Vision. But if you're using it on a projector, and unless you have something like a madVR or, something else, a Lumagen, you're probably not going to notice it anyway.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Jordan, because like it's you can plug it into a OLED TV, so and that supports Dolby Vision. So I don't understand that, and it seems to me for a luxury high-end product, it should support everything: HDMI 2.1, Dolby. Like you should at that. It's such a premium product. It should just do it all. So I don't understand that part. But for me, it doesn't matter because I'm on a projector.
Right.
Yeah. Just to be clear, madVR Envy doesn't support Dolby Vision either.
Right. I mean, you could argue that their tone mapping is better.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that Dolby Vision almost always carries an HDR10 plus sub signal, if you will. So, like you say, on a projector, the tone mapping is superior. You just don't have the nits available to do Dolby Vision justice. And even Dolby Vision, there are multiple varieties of that. For example, Dolby Vision in a commercial theater is 300 nits.
Wow.
That's what the titles are mastered to, because that's all that the projectors in the theaters can do. So, Dolby Vision is, I think the intent was good. The implementation, let's say, leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from some people, and yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, like Rusty was saying, is that and maybe it's just a peace of mind thing, but for that amount of money, just give me everything, man. Like, even if I can't use it at this time, like, just give it to me. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and call it. I think we hit on everything that I want to talk about, and we're right at 2 hours. I did want to answer this one question though. So Daryl Heflin says, does anyone think we'll get to the point where streaming can deliver full sizes like on Ultra HD Disc or KScape? So I know that Sony, I think it's called Bravia Core now, they have pretty high bit rates, and if Vern wants to chime in, he can. But I think some platforms are pretty much already there. The problem is everyone having access to the same bandwidth, because in different parts of the world, you may only be able to get a certain bandwidth, and you're not going to be able to utilize, even if you have it available, even if Disney Plus says, hey, you know what, we're going to start doing, the highest bit rate that we can possible, or Amazon Prime, not everybody's going to get the same experience because that infrastructure is just not there for everybody. So I don't think it's an issue of having the access to the content. I think it's people being able to stream that content. And then you have to think like
bottlenecks. There's a bottleneck
right.
somewhere.
Bottleneck.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the server side for
Right.
like Netflix. For them to be able to stream those bit rates to their customers.
Well, it's also important to note that the signal that you're getting at home from the streaming has probably been through some form of compression, data
Yep.
compression. And that's even more so true with the audio signals. So, in my case, I've got AT&T fiber, but let's face it, probably 95% of the world doesn't have that kind of bandwidth. So
I don't have access I can't even get that if I wanted to. So
no, I mean that it's not even available in a lot of areas. So it's going to be a fact of life that the cable companies or the streaming companies are going to have to do some form of compression, and that compression is probably going to be based on a end run check between the server and the box on the user's end to see what the bandwidth is available. So based on the amount of that bandwidth, you can bet that the content quality is likely going to be downgraded from what the original master was sitting on the server hard drive.
Yep.
So
And
I
then you
have
also have to figure in, you also have to figure in your ISP might cap you. So if you're downloading and watching a bunch of stuff and you only have a certain level, your ISP is going to they're either going to cap you, or if you go over that data limit, they're going to hit you with some pretty high prices.
Some plans do definitely have a data cap.
I do think it'll come someday, but it might be 30 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a while
Yeah.
before it's like mainstream for everybody.
Yeah.
So I have a little different viewpoint on that, because I think it's coming. It's just a matter of time. We've seen, like, look at where we've come from, like dial up.
True.
Dial up and music streaming, because here's the other side of it is, okay, let's say that, what if Apple puts out a new box? Maybe they charge a little bit more, but it's $500, the Apple TV Pro, and it doesn't stream, but it buffers. Like, you download the movie kind of like you do on a KScape, and maybe it doesn't store it there permanently, but it stores it there. So to deal with the network bandwidth issue, you would just do what you do now, and maybe you have to plan ahead 5 or 10 minutes. But if you could download the movie to your local device, even temporarily, I feel like that could happen, and I think that could happen soon.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's just Yeah, like Vern, there's so many factors. There's the bottleneck. There's your ISP. There's a lot of things I think that would have to align perfectly for it to just be like, hey, we're gonna do this. Because then if most people, it also goes back to like, do most people even care if they're getting the highest? You know, if we're going towards streaming, to me that tells me people aren't really concerned about, oh, I need the Ultra HD disc. So I think it's possible, and I think the infrastructure is probably almost there. I just don't know if the companies feel like it's worth it to invest that much for people that are just going to be like streaming on, you know, their phone, excuse me, their phone or their tablet or something like that.
I think 99.9 some odd percent of people really don't care. They can't see the difference. You know, if you're sitting 15 feet away from a 50-inch wide TV, you are just not going to see the kind of quality differences we're talking here. You know, the projector market is a very small subset, and the cheaper projectors don't offer the good quality, really, the short throw projectors. I've yet to hear a really great review on a short throw projector where it meets, like, for example, the quality from a JVC.
Yeah.
And that's what most people are buying. I mean, JVC probably sells a small fraction of the projector market because people just don't have the 10, 12, 15, $20,000 sitting around to do that.
Yeah.
I just wish, actually, what I'd wish they'd do first is, because it wouldn't take that much more bandwidth, is give the stream some more room for audio improvements.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Give a little bit more bandwidth, because that's the one where it is massive difference.
Mhm.
Streaming a movie versus 4K Blu-rays, the audio is just pretty horrific streaming.
Yeah, and Disney is just like the worst offender, man. Like I on some of these newer shows that I've been watching, they've gotten a little bit better and it sounds a little bit more dynamic, but man, just even like Disney on disc, it's like what are you guys doing? Like this sounds
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I'm with R2. Like it's
Yeah, go ahead, John.
On the video side, I think it's pretty decent already. On the streaming side, it's the audio that's frustrating.
Yeah, same.
Again, that plays into the majority of the market might even be lucky enough to have a sound bar.
Yeah,
Let's face
that's
it,
the problem.
if you're,
That one
you know,
especially, some people will probably have like 85-inch TVs and stuff, but most people just they're lucky to have a sound bar, like you said, Vern.
or if they're watching on their phone. So
Yeah.
what happens,
Yeah.
I think, is the audio is processed as well, and it's processed to do two things. One is limit the dynamic range, and the second is limit the bass. Because let's face it, the majority of systems in the home wouldn't know what to do with it if they received it, or worse yet, it would cause distortion and other problems.
Yeah.
So we're just unlucky enough to be in that.
Well, I remember back when I
minority.
had a sound bar, a full dynamic range track was just frustrating because you couldn't hear the voice.
Yeah.
It needed to be compressed, but with multi-channel audio, man.
Yeah, because I mean you're talking about a sound bar where they're trying to cram 6, 7, 8 drivers into a couple of feet. Like you're just not going to get the same experience with separates and multi-channel audio. And we were even talking about that when I was in Dallas. Is that a lot of people when they come to those get-togethers, they don't even know one that this is possible, and then some of them, like Rusty R2D2, like some people they're like, I didn't know that I liked this, and I didn't know what I was missing. So you have that, and then there's the other side of people where I think they just don't care. I mean, this newer generation is watching everything on their phones, so it's like, well, yeah, I don't even need a sound bar. I'm fine with watching this on my phone. If they're happy with that, they're not going to care about investing in multi-channel audio, getting separates, getting a processor, getting a screen, getting a mat. Like, I think we're like the 1% of home theater enthusiasts that just go all out. Yeah,
less than 1%.
But
Yeah.
here's what okay, like Netflix has different plans. So you got like a 1080p plan and a 4K plan. Why
Which is
not have
frustrating.
like, home theater dork plan where you just go full, like full nerd. And
Amazon
charge.
Fire tablet plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Dolby Atmos thing, I just read an interesting story, and I didn't realize this even with my background in commercial theater. Before you can even run a Dolby Atmos sound title in your theater, you must submit a plan that shows the number of speakers, location of speakers, the amount of power that you're able to deliver to those speakers, and Dolby must approve that before they will unlock the Dolby Atmos for that specific theater.
I did not
So
know
if
that.
you don't have a minimum of 40 speakers in your theater, the chances are that Dolby is going to decline allowing you to run Dolby Atmos in that theater.
Man. So then they're still paying licensing for the theater.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is that the DCP market actually has got way more security on it than we do with Blu-rays and UHD. And so the DCP certificate actually specifies the dates you can run it, the times you can run it, the number of auditoriums you can run it in, the audio format you can use. So even though the media carries all this stuff, the certificate that goes with that licensing that particular exhibition performance has a whole bunch of restrictions applied to it.
That is interesting. I didn't know. Yeah, I know Dolby's pretty stringent, because that's another reason when I started researching, I was like, why is there no projectors that do Dolby Vision? And when I started researching, it's Dolby has a certain requirements. If you can't hit this certain nit level, we're not gonna certify you as Dolby Vision. So that makes sense. And with the speakers, I didn't know that about the speaker, because I always thought, I'm like, why have this humongous IMAX screen, but there's no Dolby Atmos in here? I don't know if that's the reason, but it makes sense as to why some theaters, if they don't have. I mean, I've been to theaters, they don't have 40 speakers in there, or 30 speakers even. So.
Yeah, it's just Dolby is very, very conservative about maintaining their presentation levels.
Good for them.
Their
I'm
material,
glad they do.
and that's good.
They have a standard.
They have a standard, and if you can't comply with that standard, then basically you're not going to get to use not only not going to get to use the trademark, you're not even going to get to be able to play the audio track.
Interesting. So I think John was going to show some images from his build. Let me know when you're ready, John, and I'll add it.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
So,
Yeah, I haven't
we'll
seen
just-
this before, so this is interesting.
This is
Yeah,
the
I'll just-
after photo.
Yeah, so
This
so
is
there's
last
my thing, guys. Just kidding. I don't have anything.
It was a hoax.
Yeah.
It was all AI.
So go watch Jordan's video and you can see. So we had to create an asymmetrical room, and you can see here's the stairwell, and there's a missing wall here. That's totally open to
Oh,
the
yeah.
window and the stairwell. So we had to put in a total wall, and you can see how much of this A-frame it comes up to a peak, and that's at 14 feet. So we dropped it down to 12 feet, and then made the ceiling wider, and you can see my flat. The flat part of my walls
Oh yeah.
are short, right? You
I
can't
was
get
gonna
a,
say it
where are
wasn't
you
that
going to get a
short.
speaker in there, right? So we narrowed the room so the straight up and down, the straight vertical wall would be further out into the room,
Okay.
which makes this cavity in here bigger. But that's fine because I store stuff in there.
Is that still there?
It is
The
still
cavity?
there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just don't know it's there because it's all behind velvet and
Nice.
a black wall and cabinets. Yeah, so that's still there and it's still used. Shoot, you can almost sleep in there. So and I had a window, so we took out the window, and then I put up my 150-inch 60 by 9-inch screen right there, so I kind of see where that was going to look like. And that was just getting ready for
Oh,
the
wow.
project. And you can see, so here we are. We're dropping the ceiling. We're we're narrowing the room to give taller sidewalls, right? And then we're adding a wall over here because I got to get my speakers in, and we're trying to create a rectangle, which is a better environment. There's my Sopra. He made an appearance.
And how long did this? So from start to finish, how long did this take?
We started in the summer of 20. Well, let's see. It was done last Christmas. So not this Christmas, not not a few days ago. So a year ago. So it probably took like 10 months, 8 months, 9 months. All together from the build. So we started, is this Christmas of 22, but we started at the end of 21.
Okay.
And maybe the beginning of 22. Let's just say it was a 10-month process from demo and construction to getting everything in there. So they're taking out the window, like sealing it up. Like ain't no window there. It's just pretend. It's like faux shutters now. So it's all sealed, added insulation. So it's almost a room within a room, because obviously, see, there's here is the brick and insulation here, and this side has regular insulation and spray foam. And so this was just more to deaden the sound a little bit, at least some of the mid frequencies. We know you can't do much there, and adding the riser.
And what was that? What were those cutouts in the stairwell for? Right there.
That's a good question. What was that? I think there was a leak. We put in. Oh, these are new windows. We put in new windows, and we were trying to find out, because the windows were so old. We were seeing how much damage the old windows had caused by some moisture.
Gotcha.
So there's my riser being put in, and again lowering the ceiling, because my ceiling now is 12 feet.
So what was it?
Putting in the riser.
The ceiling?
I want to say it was 14, and we brought it 14 down to 12.
Okay.
At its peak. And so this would be right behind my theater chairs. Like my theater chairs would be here where my cursor is, right? So I wanted outlets for not only Ethernet, so I could plug in what I'm on right now, so I could have hardwired Ethernet when I'm on my computer, but also all of the outlets just for not only to charge phones, but for the theater seats and just everything else. And you can see the Smurf tubing here that's going downstairs to my theater rack.
I was wondering how you got all that cabling and stuff down there.
Yeah, so some of the Smurf tubing is already being used. Some of it's still empty, because I don't know what I might add later. So I just wanted it there and available, so it has pull strings, so I can get stuff through it. My wife made an appearance there. So there's the beginning of the room taking shape, looking towards the screen. And we're starting to get some color in it.
Nice.
And so this was that half wall that used to exist. And there's the stairwells right there. And now it's a full wall, giving more of a rectangle. And there it is in all its glory. Lights. Yeah, beautiful RGB lighting. And I have, again, that talked about in our tour video, but I have the velvet over my Sopras. Just some ceiling, and that's is
that the projector?
Yeah, I think that is the projector right there. Yeah. Because I have a vent right behind it, like a return vent, but that's not it. That is the projector. That is the bottom of the projector. Yeah. So there's the sticky velvet felt that I have over the projector.
So that is what. If that wasn't there, I probably would have figured out where the projector was. But because it was just black, because I was like, man, where's he? Yeah. How's he doing that?
Yeah. And then you can see some of my acoustical panels, and so there's the room, and that's my front sound stage with all the velvet behind that. So it's quite dead in the front of that room. It's pretty black.
Yeah.
And there it is. So
beautiful. It's a beautiful room.
Yep. Have you been there, R2D2?
I haven't yet. I'm dying to go.
We gotta go. We'll make it happen soon. And there's the tables that are dioramas.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Different Micro Machine toys that I found and made tables out of.
That's great. You said that they FaceTimed you and helped walk you through that?
Yes, they did.
How did you do that?
They just helped me set up the dioramas and what I wanted them to look like. And yeah, they just before they put the resin in, they say, okay, how do you want these scenes to look? And then I want to say, what about if we have some like blowing up ships just floating around space, you know? So we just added some broken ones too. So yeah,
That's pretty cool.
That's how that works. All right, I stopped sharing. Cool. Right on. So
Well, yeah, we went a little bit over, but it's
my goodness,
it was fun.
a little bit. That was fun. It was great.
Oh no, yeah, that was fun. I think we were talking off screen the other day. I think we're gonna maybe try to do this like quarterly, because I typically try to do once a month. That's like good for my schedule, and I know everybody else here has families. Or R2D2, he's got a brand new kid that he's got on his hands. So I think maybe once a quarter would be cool to get everybody back together and
talk movies. Just
yeah,
talk fun
movies,
stuff.
I'm sure by then there's going to be new stuff out. I mean, CES is going to be next week, so there's going to be all kinds of stuff. There's going to be probably new TVs, maybe some new projectors.
Be right before M-Wave too.
Yeah, and so that's another thing. I think everybody is going to be at M-Wave. I don't. Vern, are you going to M-Wave or no?
I hadn't made any definite plans, but I might very well do so.
Okay.
I'll have to talk to some of you guys about where and how, and
Yeah.
We'll make it easy for you.
okay.
I'll give you a ride. You live a mile away. You can just ride with me.
All right. No, that'll work.
Yeah. So we
Well, thank you, Jordan. I sure appreciate it. This was great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much,
hosting us.
Jordan. We appreciate it.
Oh, so I think Rusty he wanted to ask me something. Is that right, Rusty?
Yeah. I mean, if you still have a couple minutes.
Oh yeah,
but
man. I just have a cat. I don't have anything to go to. So.
Yeah, I have a family, but they went out.
There's a cat.
They're doing
too.
fun things.
Yeah, he's got a cat too.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to, a little behind the scenes for the peoples out there. This is your first time doing a home theater tour and filming 4 tours in a weekend. Like, what was your experience like? What did you think?
I loved it. Like it was fun, and it was. I think a lot of people don't realize it's still work. I mean, Rusty, you saw you gotta. He helped me bring in all my gear. Like I would stay at the hotel, and then his was the first theater that I filmed. I came straight from Dallas, from Houston. I got off work half day. I drove straight to Dallas, went to his house, and we kind of started talking a little bit, and then we started filming. And then after that, he had some people come over, and then I went to my hotel. And the next day, I filmed Rusty's in the morning on Saturday, and then right after that, I went to Vern's, filmed his, and then on Sunday morning, I did Rockstar, went to John's. And so everybody other than Vern lived about 45 minutes to an hour. So it was driving, and then I had to pack up all my gear, and then we had to take the gear inside, and then I had to set up the shots, I had to set up the lighting. So it was fun, but I was also tired. But when I got back, man, I was editing, I was like, man, this was so fun. Like, I want to do more. And so that's why I made that video, because I was like, okay, like, even though I'm doing it by myself, it's manageable. And I think so just to give everybody a little bit of a backstory, what was that? Months before that, I want to say, September-ish, me and Rusty got on a Zoom call, and I was like, hey, man, I did my first, home theater tour with the Beryllium. Yeah. I was like, and I had told him before that, I was like, based on how that goes, I'll see if I want to continue doing more. So I was like, yeah, man, I want to do it. So we got on the Zoom call for a couple of hours, and we talked, and he was like, one of the first things he asked me, he was like, how many do you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't want to do like Youth Man. I don't want to do like 13 in like 4 days. So I was like, give me something that's a little bit manageable. So we talked, and we came up with, some of the theaters that we thought would be the best for, my first time. And man, I loved it. Like everyone was super cool. Everyone was a good sport. I mean, like I said, Rusty, he's got a newborn, and he let me into his house. Him and his wife, they made tacos for us when we got there. Didn't ask him to. Didn't have to do that. So
gotta take care of your guests.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
He's a great host. Everybody's a great host.
Everyone was a great host, man. Like, meeting everybody for the first time. Everyone was super welcoming, super inviting, and just made the experience like really enjoyable. I had a lot, like, even though it was work, it didn't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Had-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, had you been to any like get-togethers before?
So that's the thing. Like, I don't know anybody else out of my immediate friends or even outside of that one has a home theater, or two, like, I can't think of one person outside of like us that I can talk to about home theater like I can with you guys. Like my friends, my family, they love coming over. They love using the theater. But beyond that, like, I can't talk to them about, H2 Web or madVR. Like, one is probably a foreign language to them. But also, like, it's kind of like what I was telling you before. Now that I'm into YouTube stuff, like I'm into I'm into cameras and lighting gear. Before that, I could care less. And one of my best friends is a photographer, and it was the same thing. Like, he would try to talk to me about stuff, and I'm like, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about ISO. You're talking about white balance. I don't know, and I don't care. So now I understand that side of it. But yeah, that was the first time that I had ever been to any get-togethers like that. And like I told Rusty, seeing everybody come out of his theater, even though it wasn't my theater, like literally seeing everybody come out of there with literal smiles on their face was just like so cool to see. And so, I don't know, man, it was just like, wow, like, I don't get this. Like, when people come over to my theater, like I said, they like it, but it's not other home theater enthusiasts who share the same passion.
Yeah.
Even though we might be on different journeys, even though we might have different budgets, or we might have different gear, we all share the exact same passion. And to experience you guys as 4 theaters that are all completely different it was so much fun. And that's why when I got back here, I was like, man, I want to do more of these, and I want to share that with everybody else, because I think a lot of people, they see different budgets and they see different theaters and they think, I can't do that, or I'll never be able to do that. And I mean, Rusty, he built his theater in like 3 months. I still don't know how he did that. So you can do it, man. You got to do.
I came off a little doing some full-time school and full-time work, got my degree, so I was just continued that into home theater.
And you had a
He
kid.
had surplus energy.
Yeah. So it's definitely possible, man. Like, you do have to do your research, because you don't want to just go into it and just buy stuff. You don't want to, and I would say for someone who's just getting into it, even if you have the funds, like, start a little bit small, see what you like, and then upgrade, because you can easily get into some serious debt. Easily.
100%. Don't just jump for something because it's got a good name. Try it out for yourself, and you don't want to go in your first time and spend a boatload of money on something just to find out you don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the great thing about going, if you can find some local people and you can experience it on their dollar and find out what you like and don't
100%.
like, man, that is so valuable. Because there's just not, with e-commerce, you don't have the same, you can't sample everything in the showroom like you may have could in the past. And even then, I don't know if you could have done it. So Jordan, is there anything that you would, having more experience now and doing it again going forward, is this something you're going to do going forward? I know you posted something, and would you do anything differently now that you've been through this crunch?
Yeah, so I've got, like I said, there's one guy that contacted me that's, I think he said he's about 30 or 40 miles away. I think one thing I would do differently is try to consolidate and bring less gear. Like, I mean, there's some stuff that I have to bring. Like, I want to bring my own lighting just because I can control it, because everybody's got different lighting. So, but I think try to bring less gear if I can, and then Other than that, man, like there's not a whole lot that I would do different. I know I did a couple different editing styles on y'all's videos. I think I like the interview style the most, and I feel like I mean we did that on pretty much everybody's, but there's not a whole lot that I would change different. Definitely, like I'm like next time it's definitely not happening again. Like the autofocus is gonna be on good, and the audio is gonna I'm not letting that happen again because that just bugged the mess out of me. But yeah, man, I mean, I really appreciate you guys opening up your theaters and your homes to me, and just making me inviting me out to Dallas. It's an experience. Even though I had already done one before, this is like the Dallas theater tours is going to be close to my heart, because that was just a fun experience, and I had so much fun, and everybody's been super positive about the home theater tours. I know I've gotten some people after I posted that video, they're like, "Can you come to Chicago?" And I'm like, if I can get another company to sponsor, then yeah, that would be great, because it gets expensive. Even just driving out there, like it's not. I think a lot of people don't realize how much how much work goes into it. I would love to travel like Youthman does, but even Youthman, like he's got sponsors to where people will do that. So hopefully I can get to that point to where I can. So that's why I was like, I want to do this locally, because I mean Dallas is big and Houston is big. I know there's some home theaters out there.
They're out there.
I just gotta find them. I haven't heard any other than that one yet. I haven't had anybody reached out, but I'm hoping that eventually I can do some more here in 2024.
Well, I thought you did a great job putting the videos together. Especially, I saw the behind the scenes of like the pace that we were moving at. I mean, there was no second take on anything. It was load up all the gear, go, one take. Well, except for John, he had like 4 takes on each one. Just seeing if you're listening.
My mascara was smeared in some of those scenes.
Just seeing if you're still listening. No, but I mean, you're moving quick, and even like I know you're beating yourself up over RB's thing, but I thought you recovered it extremely well, and I thought it was it was a very enjoyable tour. So I certainly appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. And I think you've had a pretty good. I mean, I've been watching your views. Looks like you're getting some good views and some good channel growth. So happy for you seeing that.
Yeah, and that was another reason why I wanted to do it too, because I know those home theater tours are like everybody loves those. So it's kind of like a win-win. Like I get to get some experience. I get to experience some different home theaters. And it also supports a channel growth. And yeah, the views have been good. Sometimes it's weird how the algorithm works. Like I've had videos where they do pretty good, because I think how it works is the first 24 to 48 hours, YouTube just pushes it out to as many people as it can, and then it sees, okay, how many people are liking it, how many people are engaging it, commenting on it, how long are people watching, and then after that, it kind of like tapers off for a little bit and sits there. And then I've had videos like, my top video last year had I think 7,000 views when I went from Exponent in March. And it one day randomly, months later, it just, I looked at it and I was like, where are all these views coming from? And it just shot, and it's still going. It's got 67,000 views or something. It's like the most on my channel. I'm like, why that video? So I think even after maybe a couple of weeks or maybe in a couple months, the views might even continue to go up, but the views are good right now. And like I said, a lot of people are commenting on them. They're responding to them. Sometimes I can't keep up. Then I'll look, I'm like, oh, wow, somebody commented. But yeah, everybody's been super positive. Everybody, has been really, really appreciative. And a lot of people, Vern, have been commenting how they just love your video. They love your story. Your theater, all of the theaters, but your theater has really been resonating with people, your knowledge and your history. And yeah, even somebody emailed me that one of your relatives, somebody that knows you, that said they haven't seen you in years, a
Uh-oh,
nephew or
you're in
something.
trouble.
But I'm not going to say any names.
They
but,
found me.
Yeah, I'm not going to say any names, but somebody emailed me and was like, "Hey, man, thank you for that video. Like, that's my relative, and you know, like I haven't seen him in years. Thank you for putting that up there." So I was like, "Wow, man, that's really
That's
deep.
cool.
Like, that's cool." So yeah, man, everybody's been super supportive. Austin is pretty big for home theaters too. Yeah, and I got I think it's MFK or MKF Theater, something like that. He's on YouTube. He's actually posting some of his build. I'm supposed to go out there whenever he finishes that too. But yeah, so I don't mind driving. But I still have to. I still live with myself, and I still have bills, so I still have to factor that in. So that's why right now I'm trying to focus on like Houston based, because that's not really gonna take a hit, you know, as far as financially. But yeah, I mean, maybe in the future at some point I can come back and, you know, hit some other theaters in Dallas. But again, yeah, man, thank you guys for letting me tour your theater and let me share your experience, because I know a lot of people appreciate that, because they see those and they're like, wow, that is possible. Or, you know, maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not at that budget. Maybe I don't have that gear, but it's definitely possible. And again, I want to reiterate, all of us, we didn't just do this, wake up one day and decide we're going to build this. It's taken me over 10 plus, almost 15 years to get the stuff that I have now. And most of that is only because I have a YouTube channel. Like, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to afford any of this stuff. So I thank all of you guys that are supporting the channel and that have gotten me opportunities to even be able to be in this position to do all this stuff. And, you know, I'll let you guys, if you want to do some closing comments, but yeah, I'm sure everybody here will agree. It's a journey. It takes time, it takes money, and it takes experience, and you can't just do it day one. It's been a long journey for some of us. Unless you're Rusty and you do this in 3 months. There's
the backstory.
Right,
I've been into it for, let's say, a year. It's still very, very short.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I built it, moved into this house and built it in 3 months.
Yeah.
So,
that's why I've never heard that before. And that's why when Rusty Mitch told me about that, I was like, yeah, let's do that, because that's you don't hear about that.
By the way, I saw that the per listen guy Doyle. I might be hitting you up. No, I'm kidding. He's selling his screen. I might be trying to drive to Katy and buy that from him.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if you come down here. I haven't talked. He was actually, I had invited him to join us today as part of the, you know, home theater tours, but he's actually out of the country. I think he says he gets back tomorrow. So, but yeah, he's a cool dude. His setup is crazy too. And actually, he's like, man, you got to come back. And I think around like February, March, because he's buying a couple JTR subs. And I'm like, dude, what are you going to do with your Perlisson? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to stack them. And I think he's adding some JTR. And I think he said he's adding like a 32-inch or something crazy. I'm like, dude, this is getting ridiculous, but it's awesome. So whenever he gets that stuff, I'm supposed to go over there and do an update as well. But you guys got any closing comments that you want to add to, or?
I just want to say I appreciate your hard work and coming up here and letting all of us get this opportunity to be a part of your channel.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I second that. You know, we know it was a lot of hard work, but we're all very appreciative of your efforts.
Yeah,
You're
good
welcome.
stuff, and I'm sure we'll see you in Kansas City.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we do this because it's fun, and we just love to share it with other people, and appreciate you being the channel for that. And hey, it was fun just getting to know Jordan behind the scenes. We had a lot of car time, so just chatting. And Jordan's a good dude. We had a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So
And Rusty's a good guy. He's the one that really. I basically told him I wanted to come down there and film some story. He basically was the one who set everything up. So yeah, it was a lot of work on both of our parts, and getting in touch with everybody and putting the stuff together, and then, you know, doing that home theater get together at his house where you can come in and demo the stuff. So Yeah, man, I thank you guys, and hopefully we can do this again. Maybe, you know, a couple months, 2 or 3 months. Do maybe a couple times a year, once a quarter, 4 times a year should be manageable.
Cool.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
everybody that's tuned in live and those that are watching later, greatly appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and go watch the home theater tours because they're really good. Really nice homes, home theaters, and some really good stories. So,
Yeah,
thank
even
you
if
guys.
you watch them like 3 more times because we need
Get
he
the
needs
views up.
Views. Get those views up. Watch them on multiple devices at the same time.
yeah, that's what I do. I mean,
Yeah. Well, we still have 34 people in the chat, but I think like 10 of them are my family on
Yeah.
different.
well, this is the most I've ever had. Like, so, I mean, I usually get like 15, 20 sometimes. So I figured more people were going to tune in, but yeah, it's
Cool.
I think this is really resonating with people. So look forward to seeing you guys again on the next chat and seeing you guys in Kansas City. And anybody that's watching now, if you're going to be in Kansas City, we'd like to see you there for M-Wave. Don't hesitate to come, you know, say hello and hit us up. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it after 2 hours and 40 minutes. Everybody enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.
Good night.